This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single? Do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series. Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
You know what time it is?
Sometime early Tuesday morning.
Are you ready?
Ready for what?
For a Tuesday morning show.
I was born ready.
But first, I will need
some
coffee.
Coffee?
Coffee!
Can't start the day without that fresh
Cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee. Get it?
Got it.
Get it? Got it.
Good.
Well then.
It's showtime.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, the Utah Mammoth put on a show, but they did not come away with the win. Done in by a horrible start. I mean, it's easy to look at the end of the game and say, hey, you had the lead, protect it, or you got to overtime, you got to score and win it. And those things are true, but don't dig that 3-zip hole. And don't give up a shorthanded goal with a bad giveaway deep in your own end. And hit the open net. Stuff happens. It's 2-2. The series hangs on a razor's edge. It ought to be more entertaining going forward. The Mammoth lost 5-4 in overtime. If you missed it, they gave up 2 goals in the first period. They gave up one like a minute 13 into the game, and then they gave up a second one shorthanded right at the end of the first period. And they came out in the second period, gave up another one. You're just like, all right, fine. But then 2 goals in 30 seconds, and they were back in it. 2 more quick goals in the third period, and they took the lead. But they did give up the late one that sent them to OT. Got a reprieve midway through the first overtime when Vegas scored, but it was waved off correctly, offside, wiped the play up. But then Veggie lost his stick, teammate hit it, and they couldn't keep the puck out of the net, and they lose. So it's 2-2. The series started best of 7, was best of 5 after they split 2 games in Vegas, and now best of 3 after splitting 2 games here. Wildly entertaining. You know, there's so many things. The energy's been so great in both buildings. I always see this in the Stockton and Malone eras, that in the NBA playoffs, when the energy's that good in the building, you ride it. But as the late, great John Wooden said, for every artificial high, there's an artificial low. For every peak, there is a valley. And when you spend that much energy in game 1 or 3, are you vulnerable in game 2 or 4? Yes, you are. And the best teams do it on talent, so they don't have those emotional peaks and valleys. But that was an emotional peak in game 3. And, man, that was a valley to start game 4. Way to fight back. But a 3-zip hole is a tough thing to deal with. So that series now 2-2. There were a couple other interesting stories yesterday. We got more on the hockey coming up in the next segment, so stay tuned. We will get to that. Game 5 is Wednesday night, 8 o'clock in Las Vegas, and Game 6 will be Friday time to be determined at the Delta Center. There's big college football news, and it's right in the Big 12. It's the Big 12 favorite. Texas Tech's got more money than anybody. They went out in the Big 12. They went out and got Brendan Sorsby. They needed a quarterback, so they went and got Cincinnati's Brendan Sorsby. Sorsby is now getting professional help. He's got addiction issues, and it's gambling. So now, how long does this go? Where is he when he comes out of it? And how does this impact Texas Tech season? I don't know, but it seems like it should somehow, right? Maybe Sorsby comes out of it better. He's an even better player. I mean, obviously the playing isn't the priority. The priority is to get him in a place where he can, lead a good, healthy, productive life without having gambling addiction just rip everything apart and cost him every penny he has. He gets a lot of NIL money, but gambling, you can burn through it in a heartbeat. So that's the primary consideration, obviously, for him, but we're sitting over on the sidelines. So if some of you are wondering, I get it. I got to admit, I wonder too. What is this going to mean for Texas Tech and for Sorsby, and what does it mean for BYU and Utah? The odds makers, it's way early, and we're all trying to figure out who's got what and all that, but the odds makers already have Tech as the favorite and BYU second and Utah third. It's the order they finished in last year, and they're expecting it again next year. We'll see. I do wonder about Houston. Houston had been getting a lot better. I thought they were making improvements, but they also it was kind of a goofy schedule where Utah and BYU didn't play them, hard to get a read on them. So was it a product of a soft schedule? Schedule gets softer for BYU and Utah and Texas Tech. They don't play each other this year. So we'll have to sort that out. But that is a big headline in college football out there. The NBA playoffs continued. The injury-plagued NBA playoffs. All of the top 6 teams in the West have guys missing games, I think. I don't think anybody's totally healthy. Oklahoma City, they got the sweep over the Suns. Jalen Williams sat out a game. Not a big deal. Is he healthy now? Will he be healthy going forward? You think they'd need him in the conference final against the Spurs, which is what I expect we'll see. Obviously, the Spurs missed Victor Wembanyama. The Timberwolves lost last night to the Denver Nuggets, 125-113. Aaron Gordon didn't play. He's missed a couple games in that series. Obviously, the Timberwolves are down 2 guys now, including their star, their leading scorer. So they don't have the juice. Julius Randle came up big, 27 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, but not enough. So that series in Denver was down 3-1. Now they're down 3-2. Minnesota's got a big Game 6 at home with a chance to clinch, and if not, then it's back to Denver for Game 7, at which point the Nuggets have home court, and they'd have all the emotion and the energy. Timberwolves in a bad spot. And, of course, Houston and Lakers are playing in a series where both teams have had guys miss games. Lakers are up 3-1 trying to close that out. And They don't play tonight. The Spurs will be trying to close out the Blazers tonight. The Spurs are up 3-1 in that series. And the Celtics will be trying to close out the Sixers, and should. Boston's up 3-1. Embiid's been out. There's another team impacted. Hawks and Knicks are tied too. That's the other game. Lakers don't play till Wednesday night, and they'll be at home Wednesday trying to close out the Houston Rockets. If you missed it, Detroit did lose in Orlando. So in the East, the 8 leads the 1 seed 3-1. Detroit back against the wall. All right, we're going to take a break. That's what's going on in sports to get things started. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the best of the Utah Mammoth postgame report. That's coming up next. Stay with us.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
The KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest. PK, one of your better efforts. You put up a question on our Facebook page, DJ and PK, are the Mammoth converting you yet? And we got a lot of answers on this. Some of them really predictable. Tony, absolutely. Tony, he loves playoff hockey and he loves winning. So that's not very surprising. I think a lot of people buy into that. Nate said converted the minute he heard the announcement. Scott said, I'm a Coyote fan. OG, who followed the team to Salt Lake. Not that surprising. We all know people from Arizona up here. You see the license plates and the bumper stickers and all that. If you don't know someone personally, you still see that. But there are people who have had it. It's been hard. It's been hard on them, PK. It's been difficult. Aaron, my family is all Mammoth fans. I can't turn on my Avs, though. I just can't. It's been 30 years. Aaron's bought in. And he's living in another town, but he just can't make the switch. You surprised? As someone who never did that kind of stuff yourself, you surprised? Or
no.
You've seen the loyalty run deep. You're not surprised at all.
I mean, if that's who he's loyal to, stay to it. Why would you change?
Because the team is here and your whole family did. You might go with them. I mean, it probably
That's the very reason not to, because your whole family has gone.
Brooks, I've been an Avs fan since they've been the Avs. I'll cheer for the Mammoth except when they play the Avs.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a tough one inside the same division. I have seen people with the split loyalties. You know, it's easier in the NFL when you got an AFC team and an NFC team, and they rarely run into each other. It's easier to have two. Tough when they're in the same division.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem with that. If you're a hardcore, in this case, a Colorado fan, then why would you change? I don't think you should change. That doesn't mean that you can't include somebody else. But I think it's the same thing with me, right? I want to see BYU and Utah win. Football. Let's just go football. All right. And now, of course, with Bronco and Kerr at Weber and Utah State, I want to see them win. I mean, it's funny now. The 4 coaches that play college football along our area, I have personal relationships with each of them, right? And so I want to see them all do well. But if you go for BYU and Utah, I like to see them do well. When they play each other, I try to be neutral. When they play the Devils, all right, well, okay, well, I'm a Devil, right? And so that's one game. And, one game, and that's in a college football where one game can make a big difference, right? I never want to see the Devils beat them like 50-0, like Utah has done the last 2 times they've beat the Devils, actually, creamed them both times, because I don't want to see these guys, these coaches, suffer. But I'm going to root for the one team over here. I'm certainly not going to show anything when I cover. But then when you've got the 82 games, what's one game? No one game in a span of 82 or 3 or 4, depending on how much time you play them. Now, if you play them in the playoff, that's a different thing.
Yeah, different deal.
But,
yeah.
We'll see when and if, probably at some point in time, that will happen. Maybe it can happen as soon as this year. Who knows? But if you have that original fandom, why would you change? There's a lot of people here who have been Laker fans, and yet they still want to see the Jazz do well. I think that, to me, I don't see where that's disloyal or conflicting. I think those can go together.
Really, Laker fans who want to see the Jazz do well.
Well, they don't necessarily care about the Jazz. Like Tony Finau, big Laker fan. Mm-hmm. He knows Ryan Smith. You want to see Ryan Smith lose? This guy's a friend of mine. Speaking from Tony, not me. I'm not. Yeah. Ryan Smith's not a friend of mine. But
you're not hanging out, going to Cafe Rio together.
We are not. I mean, I've talked to him many times, but I'm not even sure he knows my name.
I think he knows your name. I love it when you say that, man. Do you say that now just so you can get me to say the other one? You're just prompting me?
You think he knows my name?
I do.
I don't think so.
Okay.
He may know PK, but that's not my name.
I think he knows your name. He listened to the show before he owned the team. We had him on the show multiple times before he owned the team. We had him on talking about BYU, which we're about to get to, by the way. Stay tuned for that. Before he owned the team.
Yeah. But if you're Tony and you've been a huge Kobe Bryant fan, do you want to probably wants to see the Jazz do well, right?
Tony's a good example. I could see where, for multiple reasons, he'd have a couple teams.
If you grew up fill in the blank, and a lot of people grew up Laker fans, why? Because they won. What a great team to pick.
And it's just like we said, there's people from Arizona here who have followed the Coyotes, who are rooting for them now because they know the guys, and it's the same thing with the Lakers. There's so many people from LA here. There's tons.
Yeah, and you end up watching them, and it kind of grows on you. I don't see how this hockey team hasn't grown on you because it's fresh. It's
Vernon.
new.
Vernon's your guy.
Yeah.
Nope, they are not. They got a lot of winning to do to get me converted. Maybe a championship or Stanley Cup is what it would take. Vernon claims he's not on board.
That's too late.
The bandwagon's full, dude. You're just going to have to keep running alongside it if you want to stay in the parade. The bandwagon is full.
Yeah. I love the band Old Dominion, right?
Uh-huh.
I've seen them.
You told me about them a long time ago, before they blew up.
Right.
Because we've sat in here in commercial breaks. Here's one of the many things that happens in our commercial breaks. PK checks the prices of tickets for bands that may not even be on this side of the country. They could be, playing in Florida or New York or somewhere, and PK's like, oh, look at this. It's $400. I saw them for $40.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I saw them at the depot across the street from where we are right now. The KSL building. Everybody knows where it is, right?
They're at the Sphere for $800. I saw them for $85.
And isn't that cool that I saw them when they were barely getting started? I first saw them, I think the very first time I saw them was at that amphitheater in Chula Vista, and they were opening for Kenny Chesney, right? Mm-hmm. And we were down there, and so let's go to the show, right? And we planned it. That's why we went to San Diego in the first place. And it's in August, gorgeous night, blah, blah, blah. They come out, and I got seats standing right there in the pit. And I am literally 3 feet away from the stage, right? They come out there, and they play their tunes, and they're smiling, laughing. I do not know one single tune. The only tune that I knew that they played was a Mellencamp, Little Pink Houses. That's it. That's the only song I knew.
Yeah.
And they covered it, right?
Yeah.
But I like the sound. And then all you got to do is go to a computer. You can click on, go to iTunes, and you can hear half the tune. And then, I like this, man. And then I go see him again. And again, I've seen him like in 6 different states. I love going to concerts outside of my home state, which would be, in my case, would be 3 home states: California, Phoenix, and here. Or Vegas, for that matter, since I've seen so many shows in Vegas, right? I saw him in Hawaii. I saw him in Idaho. And now they're blown up, right? I saw them in Colorado. They played at Red Rocks a couple years back. Peyton Manning was there dancing away. And I could say, I knew these guys when. Now they've blown up big time. Well, I knew them when nobody knew them.
I think that totally resonates with sports fans.
Isn't that the same thing? You don't want to wait till they win a championship. Yeah. You want to get on board now.
We all want to see someone break out as a rookie. And if you have a chance to see one in college before they go in pro, or if you see them in high school before they go to college, people were watching Puka Nacua at Orem High. He made a catch. I think it was a season opener of his senior year. He made this. It was a long pass, and he made this awesome catch in the back of the end zone. It dragged his feet, got the touchdown. Oh, that Puka Nacua kid is awesome. And somebody else was like, oh, yeah, I knew it last year. He was lighting people up as a junior. You always want to be in early. I think absolutely. You can't get in early enough. The sooner you recognize it, the better. And you've told us this story, and this is another thing we talked about in commercial breaks. You came back from some youth baseball tournament, and you're telling me a story about a 12-year-old catcher, and parents are whispering about him reverentially, like, oh, I hear he's going to be here. He's not going to be here for the Friday games, but he's going to come in. He's going to play Saturday. He's 12. He's in the 6th grade. How early do you have to start with the hero worship? Well, he grew up to be Bryce Harper. Turns out he was pretty good. People wanted to be in on him early, before he was a teenager.
Yeah.
Nonetheless. I mean, you were telling me about it at 12, but there's somebody out there who can top it. Well, I saw him at 10. I knew he was something then. I knew him in the 4th grade.
No, I waited till he was 12. I wanted more proof.
Hey, don't buy these 4th and 5th graders, man. You'll get led astray. You got to wait till the 6th grade to figure it out.
Well, now they reorganize, and 6th grade is junior high. Yeah.
That's true. Well, and he did. I remember you coming in one morning like, the rumor is that Bryce Harper is going to get his GED. I'm like, what is he doing that for? So he can go to JC a year earlier and be eligible for the draft a year earlier. I'm like, ooh, and start making the big money.
I think it was 2 years.
That makes total sense. I was way behind the curve on that.
He did it after a sophomore season in high school.
Yeah, but you were telling me the 10th grader is going to take the GED.
Right.
Because apparently it was just common knowledge down in Vegas, and then the baseball community knows, and Yeah, everybody wants to be in.
Yeah,
there.
and I knew baseball people in Vegas at the time.
That's the earliest. There's a reason Sports Illustrated, before it became whatever it is now, but back when it was the preeminent sports magazine and such things mattered, there was a reason that they were doing a massive profile on LeBron as a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And there was a reason that when Reggie Bush was a junior, and as you pointed out, I'd left San Diego and hadn't lived there in 20 years at that point or whatever it was, and the San Diego newspaper, back when such things were really important, did like PK. It was like a 100-inch story.
Wow.
It went on. It jumped twice. It was
Really?
on the cover.
Nice.
Then you went inside. Then you went to another page inside. I kept reading it. It's like, is this like a biography on this guy? Well, they want to get on the record. We knew Reggie was special. And by the time he's cutting up Fresno State at 1 a.m. with a run that is still on highlight shows, yeah, they're like, yeah, we knew. We knew.
Yeah. So that poster on Facebook, don't tell me about you want to wait till they win a title.
No, get on board with the Mammoth. That's why people went to the arena day one for the welcome. I was there when they got off the plane.
Yeah. And if and when the Jazz win their title, all these folks that have been with them for 30, 40, 50 years celebrate wildly. Celebrate wildly because you've earned the right to celebrate. This dude who jumps on after, you haven't earned the right to celebrate. No, not at all, man. We saw that when the Red Sox won and people went to cemeteries to be with their dead relatives. I still remember distinctly watching the San Francisco Giants. Now, they won 3. And they run them in even years. Was it like 10, 12, 14, or 12, 14,
Something like that.
16?
Yeah, but it was every other year,
Yeah.
3 times in 5 years.
And the first time they won, they had one of those screens in the city parks that they've got in the actual city of San Francisco. And they showed this lady standing there by herself, older lady, white-haired lady. Final out is made. They have won the World Series. That's it. And she's standing there, and there's a camera, like, looking from the ground level up at her, and you can see her left eye's teardrops falling down her eyes, falling down from her eyes down her face. And it clearly she was thinking of probably her deceased husband or whomever it was.
Yep.
And she's standing there by herself, and you could see it, and it just moved me practically to tears. And to think that what that meant to that elderly woman, that her team that she'd probably been a fan of, when did they move? In 1958, 59, somewhere in there?
57, I think. But yeah,
57? Yeah, okay.
Matter.
And this was 2010, all these years later. Come on. If the Jazz ever win, I hope, I don't have to be working, but I hope I'm alive. Because I know, and we all know, so many diehards that they deserve the opportunity to jump up and down, do cartwheels, hug people, run out in the streets, do whatever it is that you would do because you were there for all these years. And you haven't literally bled with them, hopefully not, but metaphorically you have. And that's what it's about, to have that opportunity to experience that moment. Yes. Don't tell me after the fact. No, not at all. Anybody who wants to be a Laker fan now, forget it. No. In order to be a fan, don't you have to suffer?
Yes.
Yes, you
That's why
must.
everyone resents the Diamondbacks. Those long, 2 grueling years. And honestly, I think it's why everyone resents the Thunder. Oh, you ripped off the Supersonics. You got Kevin Durant was already drafted. You people have never really suffered. They did go through a tank in between.
Well, and they lost all those guys, though. They all left.
They sent Harden away. I mean,
They still lost them. They still lost them. You're a fan. That's your guy.
Yeah, from the fan perspective.
You lost them. Whether the management did what they did. I had a kid in high school who was a huge Bobby Mercer fan, and they traded him, and he was crushed.
because that was his guy.
Yeah, and he grew up in Connecticut, just across the state line, which is Yankee territory there. And they traded Bobby Mercer, and he was hurt. He's 16 years old. Yeah. So Thunder fans have suffered a little. Maybe they didn't suffer as much.
Not enough. They need to
okay, all right. If you want to go not enough, all right, I can live with that.
I mean, Clipper fans have suffered enough if there were any.
I think there's some.
You know who really suffered and it paid off was Warrior fans. Warrior fans had a couple of lost decades in there. They were terrible. And it was because of the owner, and he sold, and they got a new owner, and they were smart enough to bring in Jerry West as a consultant, and he helped them make great decisions, and they had a great run.
Well, every dynasty had to get to be a dynasty. You didn't just become a dynasty by opening up the doors. There's got to be some suffering along the lines. I went to college, and he just retired from being an anchor in Colorado Springs, and he was from Buffalo. And my gosh, he suffered.
I just met a lady who introduced herself to me and said, I know everyone's excited about the Mammoth, but I'm from Buffalo. How about the Sabres? And I literally looked at her and said, oh, the Sabres and the Bills, you have suffered. She goes, I know, but look at them now.
Yeah, okay, but the Bills really suffered. And they still suffer. They're suffering today.
I think just Buffalo has suffered. The Sabres and the Bills, it's been agony.
I've been to Buffalo.
Go to Niagara Falls, right?
I did. Flew into Buffalo.
I've not been to Niagara Falls.
I've walked the streets of Buffalo.
Is that on one of your baseball trips on your way to Pittsburgh or someplace?
Toronto.
Oh, Toronto. Okay. Yeah.
We were talking a little NBA playoffs, a little Utah Jazz, and PK, and I'll get to that next. Stay with us.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The NBA playoffs continuing without the Utah Jazz. Feel like you're watching a friend go on some big vacation and you're just sitting at home and you're 8 years old and they're going cool places, seeing cool games, doing cool stuff, and you're just sitting at home with no one to play catch with, PK.
Well, that's why I had a paper out and I bought a pitchback.
The pitchback. I had a pitchback. Those are awesome. I literally went out there one day when I probably was feeling sorry for myself and everybody else was doing something really cool. Pitched a whole game. Had a sore arm as a kid. I was calling balls and strikes, giving up line drives.
Yeah, I think that you're used to it now, and you knew going into it, so it's not like it's something that you caught you by surprise. I'm speaking of Jazz fans and the idea of being into the postseason. Now, next year, that's an entirely different story, and they should have an opportunity to get there in some form or fashion, hopefully, in the top 6 where they're avoiding the play-in and whatnot, although, maybe if they get in the play-in, they have an opportunity to win that. Everything has changed regarding the Jazz, and that's the good news about it is that, and that all changed literally with just one move, and that was the move to get Jaren Jackson. And we were waiting for that. The Jaren Jackson trade just changed the entire complexion of everything. It's amazing, one player. Now, hopefully we're not putting too much on him. I don't think we are. I don't think we're putting too much on Jaren Jackson because I think he's a very good player, but we're looking at the other players to support him or he to support them, depending on what it is, combined with a high pick that we may be able to achieve here with the lottery. That's the mindset of the management. And even if it's not an extremely high pick, they have so much available that they can go ahead and do something if they need to bring in another quality player who's a rookie. And, yeah, I get it. Rookie's going to take time. But beyond that, they can get some other players. And so we'll have to see what the roster looks like. But I think the arrow has been turned completely, and now it's up. Not expecting a huge jump, but I am expecting a huge jump. Maybe one huge, not two huges. A pair of huges.
I would say you're not putting too much on Jaren Jackson Jr. It really hasn't even occurred to me that we would be putting too much on Jaren Jackson Jr., which I suppose Devil's, devil's argument there. Well, that's exactly how you put too much on it. You never consider it. But it's like riding a bike. You're already headed downhill, picking up speed, and then all of a sudden there's a big dip. You're going to go even faster. I mean, Markkanen, they've clearly sat him when he was healthy. They have sat him in the fourth quarter when he was playing well in the first three, so they made sure they would lose the game. Yeah. The team is getting better. It's time for the young guys to play at a higher level. And, I mean, let's face it, Kessler's about to get paid like he's a good NBA player. He's not a kid anymore. He's going to be on a real contract making really good money. Not that those rookie contracts are terrible. More money than any of us are ever going to see in 1 year, that's for sure. But Kessler, the point is, Kessler is arriving. That's why he's getting this next contract. And Keontae George is right behind him. So there's the what Dennis Lindsay always called the organic growth, and then you add him to the group, a guy who I mean, he goes out and gets 15 or 20 points. We're not going to be talking about it. That's just what he does.
Who are you talking about? JJ?
Oh, if he goes out and gets 25 or 30, we're going to be talking about it. But if he has 15 one night, 20 the other, he's a big guy. He's a former Defensive Player of the Year. We expect an intimidating presence out of him. Kessler's getting better. Keontae's getting better. Markkanen, they've been stashing him away so they could improve their lottery odds. Yes, the hope should be higher. I don't think it all rests on Jackson, but you're right. That moment, that was a big deal. And this rebuild went on longer than I thought. It's not how long Danny Ainge rebuilds have gone on in the past. He did 2 in Boston. One lasted one. They missed the playoffs 1 year one time, and another time they missed it twice. But this trade that I thought was coming, Trader Danny, that's a well-earned nickname, there were no big deals. And, there's all these salary cap restrictions, and other teams didn't want to make a deal and whatever. And finally, Memphis was in the right place at the right time to make the deal. And Austin was here by then. So it took 3.5 years. And then it's like you said, they play out the string on a fourth year because they're 3.5 years in, but we all know. It's like, it's on in September. But it's not, to me, Jackson was a big piece of that puzzle, but it's not all sitting on him. I mean, I got expectations for all these other guys.
And I've got no problem with those expectations, but until that happened, you didn't know how long it was going to go.
No, it didn't.
And then once
they needed that trade.
And I'm speaking generally, not you specifically, but we didn't know. But once that trade was made, you don't make that trade.
It's clear.
And
very clear.
Try to tank another year. You just don't. It's not conceivable. It's not possible. And they don't want to. They've had enough. They're tired of the commissioner calling them, what are you guys doing, blah, 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 blah. Now the commissioner, you don't have to worry about that phone ringing. If the phone rings and it's the commissioner, it's about something else. It's not about why you guys are sitting, guys. Now, the great thing about it is this franchise has had a stellar reputation, or at least a solid reputation for decades, and now that's returned. And the league will see it. It will see that, okay, we don't have to worry about that franchise out there. They're not going to embarrass the league. They're not going to do something. And maybe, you had to. But that they forced the Jazz to do it. Jazz did what others have done, and somehow they got crapped on for some stupid reason. Meanwhile, San Antonio was flying high. And credit to them that they sucked, and they sucked at the right time to get Wembanyama. But in their other times that they sucked, they were able to cash in with players. Just because you stink and got a high draft pick doesn't mean that you're going to get a good player. We've seen that so many times. And to their credit, you got to give them credit for drafting the right guys. And here they go. And they look like you could draw parallels between the Spurs and what the Mammoth are doing. Young guys all on the come, playing very well, and looking like you're going to have a winning situation in X amount of years, fill in the blank, 5 years, whatever it might be. Who knows? We'll see how it plays out. Now, the Jazz aren't quite there yet because the Spurs obviously have proven it on the floor. The Jazz haven't proven on it on the floor. That's what I want to see. And I'm so fascinated. I can argue that this will be the most fascinating season in the time that I've moved to this area since 1993 when I moved. That, and what I mean by that, the fascination of how is it going to play out for the 10 years that I my first 10, well, we knew how it was going to play out, right? You're going to have the one guy dribbling up the floor, dribbling the ball up the floor, looking to make a great pass. You're going to have the other guy score, and some other guys are filling the other necessary holes there. Away you go. Even with the Boozer Darren Williams, okay, I pretty much knew how it was going to be. And then in the Mitchell, if you want to call it the Mitchell Gobert era, there was a little bit of a development there. Guys like Joe Ingles and Jordan Clarkson came to pass that maybe we weren't quite sure. I don't think anybody could have predicted Joe Ingles was going to be what he was. Now it's an entirely blank canvas. Who's going to emerge? Are they going to have a guy who's the guy? Or are they going to have two guys averaging, say, 22 and 18, 19? Or are they going to have two guys averaging 24 and 21? Whoever those two are. Is it the two big guys in terms of Jackson and Markkanen? Where does Keontae George fit in? How does he fit his game in now to where it's a winning situation and everything is magnified? And then you got the wild card over here, Locke, who we all respect his basketball knowledge. Even if you don't like him, we do, obviously, but if you should have a reason not to, certainly you respect his basketball knowledge. I mean, come on. The guy's just so into it, and he's got so much experience now and talks to so many different people that what he says has value, and he's talking about the emergence of Ace Bailey as soon as the middle of next season. That's crazy. How does that all work? Will Hardy has gone from like rags to riches in a sense, right? You're playing to lose, essentially. The guys on the floor aren't, but the management is. And so you've had to deal with that and handle that for 4 years. And the fact that he still has hair on his head and he hasn't pulled it all out is amazing to me. Yeah, and I know he's getting paid great money. I understand that. But at the same time, if he would have been patient, he probably would have get the Boston job. So you play those mind games. Now, this season, how does he direct all these pieces of the puzzle? Name me a coach in Jazz history who's had to do what he's about to do. I don't think you can. Now, I don't go back. I know Frank Layden was a character, so certainly we knew of him, but that's the extent of it. Jerry Sloan, when he takes over, right, the emergence of two Hall of Famers, well, don't get in their way, right? I think Jerry Sloan's greatness was in his ability to put far lesser players in roles in which they can succeed, and they did, taking nothing away from how he handled Stockton to allow him to play effectively much later than he probably should have, right? But you knew, don't really mess with those guys. His greatness and genius was the system that allowed role players to really flourish. And what does Will Hardy do? How does he handle this? I am so fascinated how this is going to play out and what it's going to be. It's, for me, after slogging through these last 4 years, I am super excited to turn on that television or go to these games starting from game 1 next season.
I think that this rebuild reminds me a lot of that Carlos Boozer, Darren Williams rebuild. I think that last one, with Hayward leaving and Mitchell showing up, that was really weird. It had its own time and it's had its own thing going on there. But Jackson comes in kind of in the Boozer role. All right, this guy's been successful. How much more successful can he be? Jackson's a little older and more established than Boozer was. Boozer only been in like 2 years, I think, when he jumped to the Jazz. And then you've got D. Will, kind of the Ace Bailey thing, like, man, I see some upside here. This could really work. Kirilenko had been on the roster a long time. I don't know if there's a perfect comparison to him or Memos, but I do see some other comparisons there that make sense to me. They'd been down 3 years, and that was they were really frustrated because it looked like the first year, this is what turned out to be the third year missing the playoffs. There were injuries, and D. Will was sitting, but he was starting, but he was sitting. So there's this like, hey, we're ready to go. Why isn't it going? And I think that's what we felt here with the fourth year in this rebuild. Like, isn't it about time? Shouldn't we be going by now? So I think there's some parallels with that rebuild. You're right, the Stockton Malone thing was totally different. I think that Hayward-Mitchell dynamic, that was That was highly unusual to lose a player of that caliber and to get a player of that caliber immediately in the draft who you could plug in right away, who wasn't a 3 or 4 year, warm him up, get him ready to go guy. He was ready to go right away. So we'll see. I think the cool thing about this versus then was you knew that team was really skilled, but they weren't that big and they were a little undersized and maybe not that athletic. They had some in D. Will, they had some in Kirilenko, whereas now it's like this team's huge. And there looks like there's a lot of athleticism. And if they get lucky in the draft, there's going to be even more. So I see the parallels, but I can see why this one might excite fans a little more. And then you do have the coaching thing. Like Sloan was really a known quantity. The only question, I guess, at that point was, is he still going to have the fire year after year? How's he going to relate to these young guys? And the answer was very well to some and not so well to D. Will. There was always going to be a problem with D. Will. But other guys like Millsap, awesome, great, fantastic, no problem. Plug him in, let's go. So,
I don't,
and now you got a coach here who just doesn't have the track record. With Jerry, it was really bizarre, but it's like he'd been doing the job for 15 years. We knew him inside and out. We knew what he was going to say before he said it.
I don't see very many parallels in that Boozer-Williams thing to this team. That one, Darren Williams had the ball in his hand since the time he was 5 years old. And he took his team to the Final Four, right? And so he was going to come in. Once Sloan gave him the keys, he was going to drive it. And it took a bit for him to get the keys, I understood. Jerry wanted to do what he did there. But here next year, who gets the keys? That's what I'm saying. Who has it? Who's going to be the man? We knew once they signed Boozer that, okay, he's going to be the low post guy. They brought in Okur. Well, he wasn't going to be a back-to-the-basket guy.
Nope.
That wasn't his game.
He's going to run out the three-point line and shoot threes while D. Will drove.
Okur, I wish he played today. He'd be more valuable than he was then. And who's it going to be? Now, Jackson likes to take threes. Boozer went most of his career with zero three-point attempts.
No, he was at the high post.
Yeah.
High post or low post. That was it.
And he wasn't no one was at his position was really a three-point shooter at that point. And Jaren Jackson fancies himself as a three-point shooter. And how's that going to play out? Marketing fancies himself as a three-point shooter, right? Are their games offensively, are they duplicates? I'm not saying they are. I'm asking the question, are they duplicates? How's that going to play out? How's the space going to be for them? Because you're going to need room, right? You have to have space. Spacing is huge in this game. Jerseys talk about it all the time. And so how's that going to play out? And how's that wonderful backcourt of George Bailey fit into the equation, right? You don't want to stifle Ace Bailey's development, nor do you want to stifle Keontae George's his development, because he had massive development this season. Does he deserve an opportunity to have the ball in his hands? Does he deserve an opportunity to be the man? Well, I think when he hits the gym, well, they've been out, their season's been over for a little bit, and so he's going to get himself back in there working. And Ace Bailey, I saw somebody did a little interview. He's talking about, I'm staying here in Salt Lake City. I want to really have a great second season. Okay. Is he the fourth fiddle? It's hard for fourth options to really flourish, right? How's that going to be? I don't know the answers to any of these things. The great thing is that all four guys that I just mentioned, wildly talented. You're not trying to squeeze something out of them that they're incapable of doing. You don't necessarily need them to perform way beyond their capability. You hear, have a career year. Well, Ace Bailey, the next 5 years are probably going to be career years because he's so young and he's going to build upon it. But they don't. I don't think they need these folks to perform way beyond their capability. And if that's the case, how does it all mesh? The messation of this team, I find it fascinating to see how it's going to develop from the offensive standpoint. If you bring back Kessler, I think that that's the defensive anchor that you need. And so the emphasis that they put on defensively, as we've heard Will Hardy speak about that over and over, and he spoke about it right at the end there in his final address before they depart for the summer. It's going to be at the defensive end. Great. And I expect that, right? And if you don't D up and give it everything you got on the defensive end, the good thing now is he's got options, and it's not like when Steve Cleveland first took over at BYU, he had no options. He had to play those guys whether they dogged it or not because there was nobody else to play. Here, he can throw in some other guys. But on the offensive end, who's going to be the man? What are going to be the slots? Who's going to be the primary? And 1 through 4. How's that going to be?
How is he gonna rotate through him, PK? Because none of these guys are going to play 82 games. Some of them, we'll see if somebody plays 75. Right now, I would take no. So you will have some guys at 70. You'll have others at 60 or 65. So those 4 guys you mentioned, you're right. There's only one basketball. Who gets the shots? But if people are missing 10, 15, 20 games, that takes away some of the pressure.
Sure, but they're not going to do that in the playoffs, though. They're all going to be there.
Well, we'd like to think so. We would like to think so. We'll see when we get there if they're all going to be there. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
On the switch, it's Gillespie trying to stay with SGA. In the first half, it was almost like he's like, oh, really? You guys need me to score?
He needed that one as well.
Shea right back to work. Off balance, falling to the floor, off the glass, English and in. Come on. Shea quickly to the other end, off the glass and in. He'll go to the free throw line.
Look, he's just attacking. He has a backpedal. He knows the foul's coming, but he just fights through it.
There you go. That is your NBA highlights, and most of those, if not all, were our guy Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, the reigning MVP. They dispatch the Phoenix Suns 4-0. They sweep them, this Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah, they are a really good team, obviously. You've got old Shea with 31 points, 10 of 17 shooting, continues to go through the line at a very, very good rate. Jalen Williams didn't play. He's out, but no big deal. The Suns are done. They had a nice season, I guess, there with 45 wins, more than folks expected. But their season is over. Speaking of another team with 45 wins, their season is looking great. Yeah, the Orlando Magic. Hey, punked the Pistons again. Phones of Wagner. Don't call me Wagner. That don't work. No. Leading the way with 19 points. This Magic are up 3-1. The Pistons won 60 ball games during the regular season, but that don't mean nothing. No, it don't. They could be on the verge. They are on the verge of elimination. They're going to have to win 3 in a row just to get out of the first round. That would be a massive disappointment. And the Nuggets, they put it on the Timberwolves. So sad for the Timberwolves right now. Starting backcourt is gone. Got to have Mike Conley starting. He's too old. Let's call it like it is. Nice guy and all. And somebody I ain't never heard of. We need our all things to all people boy in here. Dosunmu starting at the backcourt. He had 18, not bad. But the Timberwolves just don't have enough right now. Joe Ingles got in 3 minutes. Didn't put up any stats as he winds down his NBA career. And you've got the Joker, as DJ would call him, Nikola Jokic, with 27 points. A triple-double. Yeah, he's been struggling against Rudy Gobert. Well, not Monday night in the Pepsi Center, even though it's not the Pepsi Center anymore. I think it's the Ball Center, and he played some ball as he had 9 of 15 shooting. So that series now is 3-2, heading back to Minnesota. Just seeing if you're paying attention. No surprise, Cooper Flagg, Con Knippel, 2 teammates. I wonder if that's ever happened. 2 teammates being Rookie of the Year in terms of 1 and 2. Now Flagg wins it. Nobody cares who's second. But they were teammates at this time of last year for Duke. No big surprise there. Tonight you got Sixers and Celtics. Boston leads 3-1. Hawks, Knicks, that's tied 2-2. I think the Spurs will take care of the Blazers, put them into the offseason, see what they do with their coaching situation. And I spoke of Joe Ingles. Now he's supposed to talk about going home. Australia, playing the NBL, where he got his start. What a run. 12 years. I think he'll be 39 in October. And that is a phenomenal career. Almost like, I doubt they would do it, but a Hollywood-type movie. Maybe an Australian-type movie. Do something. A documentary on how he got going. Prosecutors plan to file new charges against Terry Rozier. Gambling. People, if you're in sports, don't gamble. Now, we got new favorite lottery odds. How about this one? For the reform that talk about option number 1, in which 18 teams would be part of the draft lottery rather than the current 14. And the bottom 10 teams would all have an 8% chance of landing the number 1 pick. The remaining odds, 20% in all, would be divided among the remaining teams. What do you think? Well, probably there's going to be some form of tanking, but obviously the opportunity to reduce as many as possible. NBA draft coming up, 71 early entrants. That is the fewest underclassmen since 2003, and we know why. Because they can get money. They can get big-time money at the college level. Speaking of the college level, let's go to college football.
Hashtag college football.
We have the first prominent athlete in college sports to admit a gambling addiction and go check himself into a facility. That, in my mind, is unprecedented, and it will be fascinating to see culturally what unfolds from there. The second piece of this, obviously, is the collegiate eligibility bucket. According to NCAA rules, and what we know about Brendan Sorsby's gambling, that he placed thousands of bets on a gambling app, and also that when he was a redshirt freshman at Indiana in 2022, he bet on the Hoosiers to win. Those, history would tell us, would make it very difficult for Brendan Sorsby to regain eligibility. The NCAA has a strict rule for athletes and even staffers that they cannot bet on college or professional sports. Recent history would indicate they have enforced that very strictly.
That's our guy, ESPN Pete Thamel. We're talking about Brendan Sorsby. Sad story. Texas Tech quarterback supposed to get up $4 million or so to transfer from Cincinnati to Tech. Cody Campbell, the big-time booster, he will not be outbid. In fact, when they got punked by Oregon in the NCAA playoffs, old Cody said, we will double down and spend even more money as they try to capture something that has not been possible for somebody like Texas Tech. And Sorsby was going to be their guy, the big-time quarterback. Well, now he's got to go. He's going to go into the gambling rehab. We'll see how that works. Hopefully for this young man, it works well. I would think, according to what Pete and others have said, I spent some time on this last night, that he would be done playing college football by going in here and getting himself in order, that he could be able to enter the NFL, right? A treatment program. And, I always thought all along that the situation with the Big 12 was who was going to join Texas Tech in the finals in December, in the final game. Because they're spending money hand over fist, as they say, and they're buying really good teams and really good players. And they were going to be in there, and it was a matter of who were they going to play. Now it's Friday night, the first Friday in December. They moved it back a day. Well, this opens it up because now they got an issue at quarterback. Now Hammond, the kid who played in relief of Brendan Morton was his name last year, that he looked really good in that game against Utah, right? Led them to, 2 or 3 touchdowns, and they won the game. pulled away in the fourth quarter. But he had the ACL, I think, in October, and so he's not going to be ready at the start of the season, although he can be ready maybe for the start of conference play. We'll see how that works. But that's a blow, an individual blow to the young man. Hopefully he gets that under control, and a blow to Texas Tech. And does it open the door for other schools to compete? NCAA President Charlie Baker said, quote, he's pretty optimistic that the new age-based eligibility proposal will happen. The board of directors met yesterday and recommended not to implement the rule retroactively for graduates who have exhausted eligibility. Good. I mean, we can't have another COVID thing where these guys just continue to linger and linger. I know they're trying to stay in to make as much money as possible, but you got to get on with life. We're talking about 5 years and 5 years of eligibility, and you can redshirt all you want, but you still have just 5 years, and you can get that extra year to play and make more money for the better players. And that it could start for not this year for seniors, but next year maybe. We'll see how that goes. It seems that that's been the push. All right, let's move on to baseball.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Deep into right field, back it goes! A moonshot for Mooney! The Sox take the lead here in the seventh, and everyone who has stuck out this 3-hour rain delay is loving it. The 0-1. Tucker with a base hit into center field. Rushing scores. Here comes Ohtani. And Kyle Tucker has his moment. A walk-off winner.
Well, that's the Dodgers. He has Kyle Tucker. They're talking about the free agent. He's gotten off to a slow start. He had a 2-out, 2 RBI walk-off. And good for the Dodgers. Doesn't everybody just want to see them continue to win? They beat the Marlins 5-4. Oh, and I get this Alex, our new producer here, at least for today. We'll see how tomorrow comes. You never know. At, let's see, at about 11:38 last night, Alex, I get a text. Now, I'm trying to go to sleep here, man. I got to get up. You know what I mean? I'm an old guy. I need my rest. Not like you young kids, you know? You probably just walked out wherever you were partying last night, went home, freshened up, came right back in, right? Well, that's not what I can do. At 11:38, Miller gave up 2 in the ninth. The streak is over. He is human. That's from our friend David James Snigeldorf III. He's talking about Mason Miller, who has been unhittable for the Padres. But I told him, I said, my good friend, and I call you my good friend because you are my good friend, that doesn't really matter because it was a non-save situation for the Padres. They were playing the Cubs, who've been extremely hot, as we know. And he comes in and gives up 2 runs in the ninth inning. But they were up 9-5. So, yeah, he gave up a couple of runs. But what I told him, I said, now go back to sleep. Here's the deal with baseball. You know soccer, I'll handle the baseball. That closers, when they come in and it's a non-save situation, they don't have their intensity. No, this was a bullpen session out on the mound against major league hitters because he hadn't been getting in enough work. So put him out there. Yes, he did give up a couple of runs. He gave up 3 hits and 2 runs. But it didn't much matter because they had the 4-run lead. And then you have to, I think that saves, you got to enter with 3 or fewer runs. Now, because he gave up the runs doesn't make it a save situation. No, not at all. If somebody else would have come in and got the final outs, it would have been a save, but not for Miller. So have no fear. Mason Miller's still throwing over 100, and it don't matter much that he didn't get the save in that situation. So we'll see. Yankees continue to be hot. Going to Texas, beat them 4-2. Break up the Yankees is away they go. All right, it was a light night in MLB. We'll be in it Monday, although there was a fair amount of games. The Guardians are bringing up their number 1 stud. I follow the baseball app on my phone. Yeah, they've got that going on there. He is he's the number 1 draft pick. Aussie Bazana is his name. He's the number 1 draft pick from just 2 2024. So we'll see how that goes. And if they can get going a little bit, the Guardians are moving along at 15-15, so they're kind of running in place. So there you go. That is your MLB for the day. All right. Now we're going to do some BYU followed by Utah State, and I am looking forward to that. Go ahead.
Hashtag BYU.
Well, we'll start with the college basketball. We said 71 early entrants. There's fewest underclassmen since 2003. And, of course, A.J. DeBonsa leads the way. I think he'll go number one. We'll see how that plays out there. And Kennard Davis put his name in there. And did you see A.J. DeBonsa? He expressed his gratitude on a LinkedIn post. Wow, that guy. Has he not been all that in a bag of chips? Yeah. Continuing to pour out the love for BYU. That's kind of cool to see. You know, we only knew he was going to be there one season. We knew that, and it's no big surprise. So with that in mind, away he goes into the NBA. But just like the Yegor Denim or Dielman, a couple of non-LDS guys who really enjoyed their time in Provo. We saw BYU basketball on their social media posts, but put pictures of Yegor coming back to work out. We'll see what AJ does. You know, he said last week that he's going to continue to be online and get his degree from BYU. So that's just a phenomenal success. And also, too, I think it'll pay dividends because BYU makes the top 5 for this 5-star Obinna Akizi Jr. Yeah, we'll see how he does. Now, I think that they already got Bruce Branch, and I just looked at 2027 mock draft the other day. It's sitting right there. Number 1 was Bruce Branch. Can BYU have the number 1 pick 2 years in a row? Is that possible? Yes, it is possible. How about that? We'll see how that goes. Former BYU guard K.J. Perry is going to go to Fresno. Good for him. As I understand, that just wasn't the right fit. He was just there for a little bit, and away he goes. All right, Utah State up next.
Hashtag Utah State.
Utah State in a move that just seems that it was inevitable. Maybe you can argue what took so long. They are going to retire his number, Bobby Wagner. Did they announce a date? Alex, do you know that? Do we have a date on that? I didn't. Oh, no. He wore number 9. I remember that when he was a linebacker there. And what a star linebacker he's been in the NFL for sure. He was selected in the second round, we know, by the Seahawks in 2012. Had opportunity to win at the highest level there. Then, okay, halftime, that was on the air, right?
No, it was going to be halftime ceremony either in 2026 or 2027. The specific date will be determined at a later time.
Yeah, I think they got to have the schedule come out. And I don't think he's retired, right?
Still playing.
Right, and he went with the Rams, then back to Seattle and Washington, and he'll turn 36 years old here in June. What a run. I'd have to think that he is a Hall of Famer, wouldn't you think? Yes, I would think. Absolutely. 10-time Pro Bowler, 6-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time second-team All-Pro, combined tackles leader, solo tackles co-leader, 2010 All-Decade Team, Seahawks top 50 player. Oh, my gosh. The awards that he has compiled, just racking it up. What a player. What a player. Second best. Now, I would need somebody who's a Utah historian, Utah State historian, maybe state of Utah, but definitely Utah State. Second best defensive player in history behind, you know who, Alex? I'm going to test your knowledge here. You're a youngster. You're 26 years old.
Who is that, PK?
Merlin Olsen, the uncle to Hans. So Hans' father was the brother, or is the brother, of Merlin Olsen. And Merlin Olsen, wow, he was a big-time star too. But Bobby Wagner, now any of you, I don't have the history of Utah State. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I don't have all answers to all questions sports-wise. If you have an idea, who could be in that running for second. But we're going to get Scotty G. We can ask him. Now, he's coming up here at 10 o'clock. I think they might be on remote today. I'm not sure. With the coach, Tim Lacombe. Is Bobby Wagner the second best player from the defensive side? I can't put him over Merlin Olsen. What do you think, people? Hit me up. PK Kinahan is my Twitter if you know of anybody. I think they had Cornell Green played in the NFL, right? He was a defensive back for Utah State. Let me know. I think Wagner would be right there, wouldn't he? Good for him. All right, let's get to the story of the day.
Hashtag NHL.
Hannafin again, left point. He sends this down the wall. Hannafin stabs it near point. Flying one wide, and they score! Tipped in by Cole Smith. It was going wide, and Smith got a tip on it to make it 3-0. Sends it down the wall for Weegar. He funnels one towards the front. Back out to Sergachev. Gunther looks in. Garconi dials one up and scores! We're tied! 3-3, and Magic Mike has his first goal of the series. Puck took a funny hop off the stanchion in favor of Utah, and it's Sergachev parading to center. Small stick handles in, looking for Keller. He gloves it down. Keller in front, bouncing puck. They score! The captain gives Utah the lead in Game 4. Folta's down the ice with Vegas recollects. Eichel tips it along for Barbashev. Eichel in front, stopped by Pamelka. The puck goes behind the net. Pamelka with a point-blank save. Eichel tried a back play. Follow-up, they score. That one's going to count. Shea Theodore wins it in overtime for Vegas. 52 seconds left in OT.
What a puck game. Oh, man. Puck's up. Wow. 5-4 in overtime. You're thinking, oh, my gosh, Vegas. Okay, upstart Mammoth. We're going to put you in your place. 3-zip. Well, they did that for a bit, and then, sure enough, Utah come roaring back. 3-3, then actually takes the lead, as you just heard Mike Folta. He's scheduled to join us at the top of the hour. And then it goes into overtime, just about, less than a minute to go in that first overtime. See how it would have played out, but it didn't need to go to anything beyond that as Shea Theodore puts in the winner. They'd had one earlier that was waved off with just a little over halfway through the overtime, and everybody went nuts there at the Delta Center. And, wow. And I'm watching this game, man, goals, you got to – what happened? How'd that puck get through? The winner, I still don't know how it got through. Sitting there watching it and wondering what's going to happen. That was a phenomenal game. I mean, I just can't say anything more than that. Wow. That was an incredible game. We got ourselves a phenomenal series here now. 2-2, obviously. And good thing we don't have to wait 3 or 4 days for the next one. Get going already. Heading down to Vegas, right? Wednesday night. So they can travel down today. Plenty of time, obviously not that far. And away we go. Game 5 in this best-of-7 series is Wednesday. Super exciting. About all you can ask for in this series of their first opportunity in the playoffs. We will talk hockey this morning for sure. Jake Scott going to join us. Mike Folta, I just said, at 8 o'clock. And then we'll go from there. A couple of guests that we're working on. Stay with us. What is Trending is brought to you by and sponsored by Shamrock Plumbing. No job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Okay, there we go. I guess there's a couple other hockey notes. Penguins, they avoided elimination again with a 3-2 win over the Flyers to send the series back to Philly. A lot of good postseason hockey going on, and we have the other series, Anaheim and Edmonton. We'll see how that goes. Can Anaheim close it out? A lot of stuff to be talking about with hockey. We got Jake Scott coming up next. Stay with us right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
Nobody brings you better coverage of the teams you're passionate about than these guys.
Try some more.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Thanks for joining me. PK flying the ship solo. I got two of my guys out. Alex sitting in, producing, doing a fine job for a 26-year-old. Oh, my gosh. Alex, your future's so bright. In 10 years, you got a shot to be 36. Good for you.
Hopefully I make it.
You will make it. Oh, speaking of a guy who's made it. Now, you've heard of on the other side of the mountains, Coach Prime. Well, we got ourselves J Prime. That's my new nickname for him, J Prime. Jake Scott, he ain't doing midday, early mornings and any of that stuff now. He's prime time, 2 to 6 with Ben Anderson. J Prime, how's it going? Good morning.
I don't know, PK. We may have to work on that one.
Jay Prime, you're like Jay Slow. Jay Slow had a run doing some coaching early, and then he left that, went to the Jazz, and then lit it up for 22 years, became a Hall of Fame coach in addition to a fine player. You used to do some prime time in kind of a in-between days of the Zone. And now we're back on the Zone together again. And you're back doing prime, only this time not with Gordon, who's going to be joining us at 9 o'clock, by the way.
Nice.
And you're doing the afternoon show, PM Drive. Prime time, Jake. Huh? Good for you.
Well, we can't all be in the prime time in the morning slot for 20-plus years. Like my guy PK. Although I didn't totally buy into the manifesto 10 years ago, and I'm still around. So that's awesome.
The manifesto being what you understood that. I think you were probably listening live. What was that manifesto, and why do you reference that you're still around and that's a shocker?
I was listening live, and then the next time I filled in for David James, we pulled it out and we talked about it, if you remember. But David went on a long rant about soccer, and you better get on board or you're going to be out of a job. Alex, how it's taken over sports and how baseball is dead and all that stuff. Hey, we miss DJ. I love DJ. I can't believe it's just you. No Hatch, no DJ, just PK. All PK all the time. I love it.
Yeah. I think the gang will be back together again in a day or so. We'll see how that plays out. But I'm here. I'm always here. I may not be here, but I'm always on the air. How about that? Is that good enough?
Always good enough, TK.
So how much you getting into this hockey, man? Game 4, that was off the charts exciting. Unfortunately for the Mammoth and all that, they did not win. But if you're looking for entertainment, you got it in spades there.
Yeah, I mean, it is entertaining, and I think the Mammoth are an entertaining team. I think this community was ready for another major league sport. I think that's proving itself true with all these home games, PK, and the atmosphere everybody is just glowing about. So, kind of the cliche, oh, it's great to have playoff something back in Salt Lake City, but it's really true. And I think everybody's jumping on board because we've all kind of been waiting for something to jump on board with. And, we get used to it, PK, so many years, the Jazz being consistently good, right? We have college football in the fall. We have NBA playoffs in the spring after March Madness is over, and we've been missing that. And now throw in a little NHL playoffs, and it kind of, I think it scratches us where we itch. Think about next year, PK. Maybe we have dueling playoff runs in the spring. I mean, how cool would that be? So I thought last night was super excited. The series all tied up at 2 apiece, and it seems like it's going to be a thriller.
Now you're a guy who's done shows on the plaza at the Delta Center across the street when there's NBA playoffs, and you have done it now when there's NHL, right? Because you did do it the other day. I don't know about the weather yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday the rain chased us off,
right.
But yeah, we were out there Friday.
Right. And so compare that. And I've only done basketball. I've done basketball many times doing shows on the plaza, but I haven't done hockey. You're like the one guy who can speak to this is my thought of talking to you this morning, is how was it in terms of the atmosphere before the game, everybody hanging out, and then walking into the arena as we get closer to start time?
So I certainly can compare them. I think it's a little bit unfair because it was the Mammoth's first time. And I think I saw our guy Wes Ruff who was saying, I've been to Jazz playoff games and I've never seen anything like this. I don't want to, let's not forget how intense Jazz playoff games are at that building. But I'll tell you what I did notice being on the plaza, PKs, on Friday, is the time everybody showed up. Those plazas for Jazz playoff games get pretty packed. But what would you say is when it really starts getting crowded? Like an hour and a half before tip, maybe 2 hours?
Yeah, for sure.
On Friday, PK, it was like 3.5 hours before puck drop, and that place was slammed. And they put a beer garden kind of thing outside where, because of liquor laws, they have to rope it off and that sort of thing. And it was elbow to elbow at like 4 p.m. So, really? I mean, there was a ton of energy, and there was a ton of energy really long before the game. So, the pinnacle energy of a Jazz playoff game and a Mammoth playoff game, probably pretty similar. But I was impressed with the number of Mammoth fans that just came out to hang out hours before puck drop. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and if the weather's good for, what would that be, Game 5, Game 6, then they can have one more home game if they don't win the series. And if they win the series, then obviously we'll be back starting it all up again. But I was just interested to see because it seems like to me, at the epicenter, which is the Delta Center, that and watching reports and all and listening to you guys last Friday, that's what it was about. I don't know that I could put it on Jazz level yet because to me, we're thinking of Jazz NBA Finals too. I mean, that was off the charts.
Or remember when Derek Fisher, I know he's unpopular now, but do you remember when he landed and showed up late to the game and walked through the tunnel to play in the fourth quarter? I mean, that's as loud as I've heard that building ever. And let's not forget how raucous Jazz fans are, but the Mammoth are right there for sure.
Yeah, and they're still, they're remodeling the arena for hockey, so it's still only like 12,500 or so. That'll be increased as the project increases and gets done coming up here. So there'll be even more so. And I assume you guys, if the weather is good, have the opportunity to do those more. We'll see how the Mammoth, if they have the opportunity to advance, which would be way cool. You're a guy who's basically lived most of your life in Salt Lake City, the area, right?
Yes, most of my life, yes.
So with that in mind, you are, and you've obviously been a sports fan like we all have been. You can speak to this in terms of the community growing up. Just go back. Go back to when you were in high school. What year did you graduate?
1999.
Okay, 1999. So at that point, that was right around the time that the WAC, the two teams left the WAC, went to the Mountain West.
Yeah, the Mountain West. Yeah.
And and they had good programs at that point, but Utah football was getting better. There's no doubt about it. I mean, BYU was still BYU with their large fandom, and we know that you can never go wrong talking about BYU on sports radio here in Utah. That's for sure. But Utah hadn't really grown up to the level that it did and has become. And the Jazz obviously had the finals. Utah basketball, U of U basketball was pretty good. But just think of yourself when you're in high school. Think to what we have now. We have pretty much high-level college football. Utah State's emerging. Basketball, BYU basketball. Utah, hopefully they can get back to where they were or at least get close to it. And then the Jazz and now the hockey. Could you have imagined if I would have told you, 27 years later, that we would be in this situation? Was that something that you could have conceived as a young sports fan when you were going to, I think you, your junior year, I know you had to go to one of those alternative high schools, but your senior year, you were back in regular high school, right?
That's a you know what? That's a joke that a husband of a teacher can make. Yes, absolutely. You sounded like you make it sound like it was always a pipe dream. I mean, I've been doing sports radio for 20 years, and PK, what's the layup hot topic always been? Can this market support another major league franchise? Open lines now. Yeah, of course. BYU's been filling that stadium since the 70s.
Yep.
It's the second or third biggest college football stadium west of the Mississippi. The Marriott Center is huge, 20,000. They've been putting fans in there. I mean, yeah, Utah football has really grown, and the crowds jumped on, after Urban really started winning football games. But they started that sellout streak that they've kind of, tried to keep going or have kept going. When did they start that sellout streak, PK? It was back when Urban got here, right? I mean, it's been a long time. I think this community has always been super passionate about sports. I think it's super passionate about sports now. I mean, I think what's enabled it a little bit is the numbers. So many. But yeah, absolutely, I would have seen this coming or would have predicted it 100%. Unless all of a sudden, in the late 90s, you thought Salt Lake was going to stop growing. But I think what makes us different than your beloved Californians, PK, is that we actually care.
Oh, that's a shot. That's a shot.
And we actually care about sports, and we actually care about what happens day to day. Whereas, you go to I've been to a game at Cal Berkeley. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I've been to a game at Stanford. Nobody cares. And I've been to a game at UCLA. Nobody cares.
I want to argue that, but you I think you cherry picked a little bit though. You went to where there are college institutions that don't seem to have that much passion, and don't Stanford at a time where it was winning. Cal has been kind of a middling program, and you got to go way back to where UC Los Angeles was winning. But, SC was winning, and they packed the Coliseum. And then Jake Scott joining us. You can hear him from 2 to 6 with Ben Anderson. Primetime Jake, as we call him now, that, I can speak to the professional levels. And let me tell you, there was no finer place to be, Jake Scott, than the Fabulous Forum in the 1980s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I've heard you talk about the 80s like this before. Come to think of it. Have you had an opinion about that team in the past?
No, I was talking about the LA Kings.
Listen, if you're in a city the size of LA and you can't put 17,000 people into a basketball arena, I don't know what to tell you.
They could have put 17 million if it was big enough in those days.
Oh, dude, it just tells you how pathetic the Clippers are and always will be.
Well, you kind of got me there. So you win, and I believe it's a winner, not an iffer, that you believe that we'll just hit the stride as far as the big league community when MLB comes.
100%. Absolutely. I think, if and when, knock on wood, that happens. I think this community is going to be all on board. The Sunday thing was always, will they support a team on Sunday? Well, as we've grown and gotten more diverse, I mean, all those questions go out the window, in my opinion. I think as a community, we'll blow.
Yeah, I think that was
there. I as hockey has proved, one thing, they can sell tickets to hockey and not take a bite out of the Jazz, and that was one thing that I was interested to see is, are you taking sponsorship dollars and ticket sales and all that from Peter just to pay Paul? And I think the answer to that over the first 2 years is that is not happening. So I think there is room for Major League Baseball, and I think absolutely our community would support it.
Wow, he's talking about Sunday play, then he starts referencing the Apostles. Look at Jake Scott go.
Oh, Peter and Paul. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. It's getting religious here, PK.
My show. Now that I don't have him to interrupt me, that freaking heathen pagan. I can don't talk about my faith. I'm awfully proud of it. You know what I mean?
I do. I do.
What will be interesting now? You said that the Jazz haven't been negatively affected by the Mammoth, and it doesn't look like that's the case. We'll see how in the years to come. But where it's been, and I can speak to this growing up in the Phoenix area, or the second half of my childhood, not my first half, that if you want to trace to when the Cardinals got to the Phoenix area, there's a direct correlation for when the Sun Devils took a massive hit and have been basically just a 500 program from that time until now. They've had a few opportunities. 96, they went to the Rose Bowl, and then a couple years back, we know they had a nice season and went to the playoff and all that stuff. We'll see if Dillingham can sustain it as far as that goes. But that community, it's a crappy professional NFL team, but nevertheless, the college took a hit. Now, we'll see how it goes. Now, it's not direct competition because it was college football versus NFL. I don't think we're in line for NFL, even when we get MLB, and we'll have 3 major sports, and RSL doesn't play. They play a little bit in the fall, but at that point, their season is winding down, and I think that's more of a specialty sport anyway. You don't see a time where if we get all these sports that it impacts the colleges negatively.
That's a great question. It could. Tell me, did the Cardinals take a bite out of Arizona State, or is Arizona State just run by buffoons and can't put a product out on the field that's worth watching?
There's something to be said for that. They had the coach there for many, many years, and they were really good. Sent a ton of guys into the pros, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't really following it to that level to know what leadership was doing in terms of not being competent. But at the time, in the 60s and 70s, they were the dominant team in the WAC, and then they go to and maybe it's that they went to the Pac-12. People actually think like Utah, there was a transition period where they weren't that good in the beginning, and people think that happened with the Devils. It didn't. They actually made a smooth transition, and where they first 5 years averaged over 10 wins a season, beat SC in the first year when they were ranked number 1. It was afterward. It was like 80. It was right when the Cardinals came. I'm telling you, it was literally right when the Cardinals came. And maybe the administration and they hired the wrong coaches or what have you, and it went in the toilet. And we'll see if they've got the right people now. Certainly the arrow is pointed up after that bumbling fool Herm Edwards went on his way and left in disgrace. And maybe the area is big enough, but historically, if you in big cities, SC had it going on. But then and they had the Rams there, obviously. Then they enjoyed a period where there was no NFL, and that's when the most recent time they dominated. And we'll see if they can get it back. Lincoln Riley saying, "Yeah, it took us a couple of years to build this thing up." And like, oh my gosh, would you stop making excuses as to why you haven't been good? But nevertheless, that's the latest thing. We'll see if they can do it. I just wonder if we get big time here in another 5 years or so, if it'll be a negative effect on the colleges. I don't think so, but who knows?
Yeah, did the Rams, when they come back, take a bite out of your beloved Trojans? I kind of think the Arizona State thing is really interesting. Is it causal? Is it coincidental? I just know that when we were doing Pac-12 Media Days, PK, every coach that come around would remark, when we first started doing it, would remark like, wow, there's 6 radio stations here or whatever it is. It's because people care here and they're super passionate about it. And, our economy, local economy is doing well. So, hopefully, business sponsorships and people can afford tickets and that sort of thing. I mean, I think, as sports in general become more expensive, the conversation about pricing the fan out should be something that is talked about more often. But as far as support and numbers and those sorts of things, I think we're very equipped to go forward in this market.
Speaking of economy doing well, what are you doing with all that extra money now that you got that massive pay increase to go primetime?
Heating my house with it. I just put it right into the furnace, and it gives a nice heat, hot air throughout, and a nice smell throughout the rest of the house.
Well, you need hot air and a nice smell, isn't that sure? For sure.
Yeah. Either the fireplace or the furnace, either one, depending on what we want to do. If we want to roast some marshmallows, I just, pitch a stack of 20s in there. And
nice. Very nice. All right, Jake, we sure appreciate you getting up, joining us this morning. We'll hear you at 2 o'clock with Ben Anderson and the new in your second week in prime time, right? Last week was the first week. This will be the second week. And then, boy, when basketball season comes, it's going to be Jake Scott on the air for like 9 hours a day.
Oh, boy. Can't wait.
Because you and Tim will still be doing the basketball, right?
That's the idea.
All right, Jake. Thanks for joining us. We'll listen to you today. Appreciate your time.
Patrick, you're the best. Thanks, buddy.
All right, that's Jake Scott. You can hear him starting at 2 o'clock every day with Ben Anderson. And then I referenced Tim Lacombe. He's doing the new show with Scotty G from 10 to 2. And then when basketball season starts up again in the fall, it'll be Tim and Jake doing the Jazz pre-half and post. We got you covered, coming and going. Speaking of coming up next at the top of the hour, Mike Folta, you hear him on the call every game for the Utah Mammoth. We will get to that in that exciting Game 4 and what's ahead for the Mammoth. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
This is Utah's best coverage of the Utes, Cougars, Jazz, and Mammoth. Here we go. From the guys who have been there for all the biggest moments in Utah sports history. You're listening to DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty and the coach Thursday from 11 to 2 at Tim Dolly Mazda in Sandy. Now, Tim Dolly Mazda in Sandy is that the Auto Mall Drive down there in Sandy. You know where that is. But if you don't, I'll give you the address. 10785 South Auto Mall Drive, Tim Dolly Mazda. All right, people, when you're playing the Rolling Stones, are you just doing that because you think it's my era? Is that your point there?
No. I really enjoy the Rolling Stones. And so.
You don't think I can roll with Ja Rule?
You want me to play some Ja Rule coming up for you?
I mean, come on. I'm like, you listen to your grandfather's music? Tell the truth here.
I do. I like 70s and 80s classics, man.
Classic rock, the Rolling Stones. Yeah, they even go back to the 60s, for sure. And they're all in their 80s then. Maybe they'll, I think they're putting out a new album is what I heard. I'm not a big rap guy. I'm not going to pretend it. But my current music is country, so which I call pop, country rock. You've heard of the Eagles, right?
I've heard of the Eagles, yeah.
Yeah, so the Eagles, when I was a kid, they were, to my mind, one of the original country rockers. And now I think if you turn on guys like, especially now, some of the stuff that's out, Post Malone, that he's contributed. You don't like Post Malone?
Not really, no.
Okay, but well, all the country stuff that he's done with so many guys. You ever heard of a guy named Morgan Wallen?
I have heard of Morgan Wallen.
Okay, I love that dude. There was a time in 2020, Alex. You know where the complex is?
Yes.
Okay, so it would have been in April of 2020. I bought like $50 tickets to see Morgan Wallen play at the complex. Now we're going back 6 years, so you would have been in college at that time, right? And we know 2020, what happened in March of 2020? Everybody went nuts, and they locked us up and threw away the key, and we couldn't go outside. COVID had taken control of the world, and so that concert was canceled. And fast forward to now, he's touring. He's going to be at the Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, I think coming up here like next week. And you're not getting $50 tickets.
How much are they going for?
Oh my gosh. I mean, thousands, if you want to be within actual distance where you could see them. Yeah. Thomas Rhett is performing, another one of my favorites. with him. But it was amazing to think. Now, it didn't come to pass because of COVID, but just thinking 6 years he was going to be at the complex, which they don't even have seats. It's just a standing, unless they've changed it. I haven't been in there in a bit. I saw Dan and Shay there a few years back. And so you stand, and then now, wow, that young man has come a long way. And he just recently donated, staying with a sports angle, he recently donated, I think, 7 figures to his high school's baseball team because I believe when he was a junior, they won the state championship, and he was on the team. Ex-baseball player Morgan Wallen, yeah, one of my faves. He's got some tunes with Post Malone that are really good, so there you go. Speaking of an emerging team that couldn't imagine where they'd be 6 years ago, that's the Utah Mammoth. They were in Phoenix at that time, the Arizona Coyotes. Well, now they're ours, the Utah Mammoth, and they had a phenomenal game. The series is tied. A little bit of a letdown, but it's still tied. Best of 3 going forward. Mike Folta, who does the play-by-play on the radio. You can hear him every game on our air. He will join us next right here on 97.5 and 1280, the KSL Sports Zone.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
Over 2 decades of sports radio dominance in Utah.
My favorite.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Thanks for joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. Joining us now is the radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Mammoth, Mike Folta. Mike, I am still coming down from that game 4. In fact, I'm hydrating myself because I think I was dehydrated. Right now, as you tell us how you're doing, I'm going to take a swig of my Propel.
Well, I need some coffee, some Red Bull. Didn't even go to sleep, PK. Just pulled an all-nighter. Wasn't sure how many overtimes we were going to have. So just kept the candle burning. Thought, why not? Let's just keep it rolling into Game 5. What a scene at the Delta Center last night. No, it didn't go in Utah's favor, but it was an unbelievable game for a sports fan, a hockey fan. The Mammoth erase a 3-0 deficit. They come all the way back. They have a lead. We go to overtime. There's a goal called back. There's new life in overtime, and then Vegas does score to win it. And just quite honestly, PK, some emotions I'm not sure I've felt before working in this industry in that Game 4, and certainly with Utah, with how close things were and the intensity that we reached. But it was a heck of an evening. Mammoth Nation was unbelievable, powering Utah in that comeback. And now it's a best of 3 series heading to Vegas for Game 5.
You know, obviously we are still in the infancy stage of NHL hockey in Utah, but if you're looking to sell the product, now obviously a win would have sold it better, but the next best thing, my gosh, was the game that you could possibly, I don't even know that you could dream it up. The way that started, the middle of it, and the way it ended, and even before when it ended, about halfway through the overtime, was it a goal, wasn't it? And they have the replay, and everybody's super excited there. I mean, in terms of a marketing ploy, outside of winning, which is ultimately what matters, in terms of excitement, I don't know that you could have sold anything better as a new sport here in the state of Utah.
No, it was our first taste of overtime in the playoffs, and it's a Monday night. It's a Monday night, and it's 11:30 or whatever it is, and everybody's still, having a ball at the Delta Center and revving it up and at the edge of their seats. And the thing is, PK, like playoff overtime, it's unlike anything we get in the regular season, that's for sure. But it's also just, it's that do or die sudden death that you only get in the postseason in sports. And in hockey, you can battle for 60 minutes in the regular season, and then if you lose in overtime, you walk away saying, oh, well, at least we got a point in the standings.
Yeah,
right? Like, not everything is lost. Whereas in the playoffs, we played 79 minutes, had guts and glory from the Utah Mammoth left and right, and the team comes away with absolutely nothing. Like, it's just the emotions of that and the fear of coming away with nothing as a fan just amp up the intensity all that much more, knowing what's on the line. That was a huge game. It was a huge game. If the Mammoth could have found a way in overtime, then you're up 3-1 with a chance to win the series in Vegas in Game 5. But as it is, now all of a sudden you're tied 2-2 in the series, and you got to find a way to win at least one game on the road. And the Golden Knights are now rolling with momentum heading back to their home arena. So it was a huge swing game, and you can't replicate those emotions of playoff overtime without being in it.
No, I totally agree. That game itself had enough twists and turns and ups and downs and highs and lows to last an entire series, let alone one single game. You're thinking, okay, Vegas, we fooled around, and now we're done. Now we're going to put it to these upstarts, right? 3-0. You're thinking, man. And it's just the first period. Is this going to be an embarrassment here? Is it going to be such a letdown before the home crowd? And then obviously, no, not at all. And then in the span of 1 minute, less than a half a minute, right? Once it becomes 3-2, then it's on. It is just on. Yeah. It's at that point, it's anybody's game. And sure enough, they go and take the lead. But at that point, because time and score, 1 goal, but there was plenty of time for Vegas, I thought to myself, we're going OT. Vegas is going to find a way somehow, because they're going to be the more desperate team and laying it out on the line. Somehow they're going to get something in, maybe a fluke or what have you, or a traditional boom, blast one in. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I felt at that point we were going to go to OT. What was the feeling like in the arena?
At 3-2?
No, at 4-3. When
4-3. The feeling.
The Mammoth have the lead, but what I'm saying is there was enough time. It wasn't like there was 2-3 minutes to go. Yeah. My thought is, there's enough time. The way this game is gone now, it's just got to go OT. The hockey gods are demanding that it go OT.
Yeah, I'm glad you're saying that, because I totally agree with that. And technically, this is a blown lead loss for the Mammoth. Like, they had the lead with a lot of time left in the third, and Vegas came back to tie it. But as you said, I actually texted my buddy who was listening back in the Midwest. He was like, "Let's go! We're in the lead. We're going to win this." And I'm like, "This game is not ending at 4-3. There's no way."
Right.
So it's not.
That's what I felt.
It was not your typical blown lead. Like, there was just so much time left.
Right.
And you're not gonna make the Golden Knights flinch. Okay, like they've been down in series before. They were down 2-1 in their first round series last year and came back to win that series in Minnesota in 6 games. They won 3 in a row to advance to the next round. So they think they can do that again this year. But they've come back in games all year. They've been one of the best comeback teams throughout the season. So you're not going to get Vegas to flinch when there's a surge or when the building's on fire. But talking about feeling things we haven't felt before, when Michael Carcone tied the game at 3, and when Clayton Keller gave Utah the lead at 4, like those were 2 feelings that we hadn't got before in a Mammoth game at the Delta Center. And so those were incredible feelings that despite the loss, like, we'll get to hang on to for a little bit here. I do agree, though, and I think that I don't think anybody in the arena was like, okay, 4-3, let's kick back and just, defend the house, play prevent defense, and hold on to this lead.
Right.
There was no way that game was going to end at 4-3 one way or the other.
That's the way I felt, yeah. for sure. And I thought that. I watch the games at home because I got to get up so early in the morning that when the game ends, I need to get to bed as soon as I can. Obviously, with that being that situation. As far as now momentum, I realized that it was whoever was going to win, it was going to be dramatic, and certainly 3-1 is a lot better than 2-2. But I think it's even. Just watching the complexion of the series, the Mammoth have got to have all sorts of confidence. They've already won in Vegas. It's not like it was a fluke. You could argue they could have won, should have won Game 1. They win Game 2, obviously, and they win Game 3, could have won Game 4. It's anybody's game, flip of a coin. It goes down, as you said, 79 minutes, what have you. That with that in mind, in my mind, I don't give an advantage to anybody, even though the Game 5 is going back to Vegas. How do you see it?
I think it's kind of a choose your own narrative type of series, because for Vegas, they're sitting over there saying, we've carried the play the last 2 games, and we think we deserve to win Game 3, but the Mammoth won. We came out and we carried the play in Game 4, and we got rewarded with a victory. Now we're headed home, and we've done it before. We've come back in series a whole bunch. We're going to do it again. We're headed back to home ice. Like, we got them right where we want them right now. That's what Vegas is saying, because the series is tied 2-2, but I don't think you can look at all 4 games and say that the Golden Knights have not controlled play for a majority of the series. I think Utah was the better team in Game 2. That's the only game so far where the Mammoths have dictated terms for a majority of the game. Now, Utah deserves credit. It's not a fluke that the series is tied at 2 apiece, but you look at scoring chances created, you look at the quality of scoring chances created, and Vegas has done more than the Mammoths have in that department. Now, if you're on the Utah side and you're choosing your own narrative, you can look at Game 4 and say, look, we were pretty happy to just get to overtime in that game or even have a shot in the third period. We were down 3-0 to a really good team, 26 minutes into the game? I mean, it could have gone off the rails.
Right, you could have got smoked.
Exactly. And the Mammoth gave up the third goal. It's 3-0. Logan Cooley takes a terrible penalty, and all of a sudden Vegas is on the power play, up 3 Cobb, and I'm getting ready to pull out my joke book. I'm like, we're going to have to find a way to entertain the fans on the radio because the game itself is not going well. And what do you know? Utah gets a PK and they fight their way back into it. So I think the Mammoth taught us something last night, that they are not afraid. They are not afraid of the moment. They are able to come back in games. And even if Vegas goes up by a goal or even 2 goals in the next game, the next couple games, this team is capable of coming back. And that's a huge piece of belief to have and a huge piece of confidence to have for the Mammoth. Now, if they go down 3-0 in game 5, am I gonna be feeling confident? No,
I got you.
It's pretty hard to erase those deficits twice in one series, but you've shown that you can do it, and I think it's a huge piece of belief to carry forward throughout the rest of the series.
Mike Folta, you hear him on the call for all the Mammoth games right here on our network. See, I can argue that, and I agree with the game 3. They were fortunate to win. Statistically, it doesn't work that way. It's like outgaining somebody in football by 300 yards and still losing. Normally there's certain stats that if you just look at a box score, you can sort of figure out who won without looking at the score. And this might have been the exception with the shot attempts and all that. But can I argue, okay, except for stretches, maybe game 2, put that aside. But other than that, the stretches of good play have just been that. They've been stretches. If this team finds a way to put together a complete game, they're fine.
And it's also a stylistic thing, too. Like, I mean, if you want to put it in football terms, you're playing against a team in Vegas that likes to control the clock. They like to run the ball. They like to have the puck on their stick. And stylistically, I'm not sure how realistic it is to think that Utah is going to outshoot Vegas in every game or outpossess Vegas in every game, because that's what the Golden Knights do. They hang on to pucks. They can wear you down in the offensive zone because they're big and they can control possession. So the Mammoth have to be opportunistic in this series. That's not an accident that Utah has been able to score while not controlling a majority of possession. Last night, I think the Golden Knights had the puck in the offensive zone like 9 more minutes than Utah did.
Yeah.
That's a pretty severe difference. The Mammoth need to quell that a little bit. They need to not allow Vegas to control the puck quite as much. So look for that in Game 5. And I think Utah did a lot of good things in Game 5. It's not like they were dominating every single shift, right?
Right.
And that's the thing we have to remember. But this Golden Knights team, like they had more stretches where I was scared than Utah had stretches where I was excited, if that makes sense.
No, I got you.
I think both teams feel okay heading into Game 5. I think Vegas feels like they've got Utah right where they want them, and I think the Mammoths are thinking, hey, we've won 2 of the last 3. We've scored 4 goals each of the last 2 games, and that's maybe an X factor in this is Carter Hart, the goaltender for Vegas. He was really good in the first couple games, but now the Mammoths are starting to get a few past him. Will he lay an egg? Will he steal a game? Like, which way is his play going to swing?
What did you see them doing in that stretch where they rally down 3 that they can continue to do? What is sustainable, I guess?
Well, they got some goals. They got a gritty goal to start things out. Nick Schmaltz. They scored a couple goals off the rush as well. That was the Clayton Keller goal to give them the lead.
Yeah.
But they moved the puck quickly, and we talk about the Mammoth team speed, and most of the time when we mean that, we mean skating speed, which is true. The Mammoth, just in terms of a skating perspective, are one of the fastest teams in the NHL.
Right.
But team speed also means the speed with which you move the puck. The puck is going to move faster than a player ever could. And so how quickly can you move the puck and make decisions? Is it on and off your stick, or are you holding on to it, trying to make that next read? The Mammoth, when they're using that quick decision-making, they might be the fastest team in the league when you combine their speed with their decision-making. And I thought the decision-making was very quick and authoritative when Utah was coming back in the game. And you look at – I'm trying to think back. You look at all 4 goals that were scored, and there were quick passes and quick movements by the players. You also had a few guys going to the net, too, like Schmaltz and Keller driving the net on the first goal. The second goal from Ian Cole was a slap shot from the blue line, but you had Alexander Kerfoot in front of the net with a bit of a screen. Carcone, the third goal, there was more traffic in front, and he was able to fire a one-timer. Good to see him get going, by the way, because he had been quiet in the series.
Yeah.
He fired a one-timer through a little bit of traffic, and it got past Carter Hart. And then the fourth goal, Keller just feeds one towards the middle, and Sergachev's crashing the net, and so there's chaos. Vegas is on all sorts of disarray, and it bounces in off one of their defensemen. So going towards the net and quick puck decisions, those are 2 of the things that I saw in those 4 goals.
One of the things that I like after a tough loss, or even if it would have been a great win, but more especially after a tough loss, is you get right back at it. We don't have to have a 3 or 4 day layoff, man. Let's get this thing going, get back on the ice, and away we go.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, playing every other day now, we're done with the 2-day breaks, which kind of, throws you for a bit of a loop. But now we're playing every other day, and I would guarantee you the players have the same sentiment as you, PK. Like, just get us back out there. A day in between, it's enough time for everybody to get rest.
Yeah.
I mean, you had some guys play 30 minutes out there, which is nuts. I think Mikhail Sergachev played 30 minutes. You have enough time to get a break, but enough time where that hunger is still carrying over into Game 5. So obviously a massive game Wednesday, 8 o'clock Mountain Time coming up down at the Fortress T-Mobile Arena. The Mammoth have already won there once in this series. They're going to have to win there again. You got to find a way to win 2 of the next 3. The way I see it, PK, you cannot have an exciting Game 7, and you cannot have a potential game-clinching scenario in Salt Lake City for Game 6 if the Mammoth win in 5. So we have everything right where we want it.
That would be awesome, man. I mean, I've always felt that, as I've watched playoff sports for years and years, that it's so much better if the clincher is played on in the home stadium, the home arena, whatever it might be, and the fans are going berserk. As a sports fan, that just adds to it. It's not quite the same. You'll take it, obviously, but it's not quite the same winning the clincher on the road. So have that opportunity if they win tomorrow, and then come back on a weekend and wow.
Oh yeah.
This town, it'll be reminiscent of the Jazz, and we've seen some of that. You know, I can see you guys weren't here obviously, and it's been a while since they've been in the playoff, but you know, this town really just comes alive when there's an opportunity to have a closeout, and to do it at home, to do it in Salt Lake is just awesome.
Well, somebody call Phil Jackson and tell him to break out the earplugs, because Friday night, Game 6 is going to be absolutely insane. And I'll end with this, PK. I think the pressure is on Vegas in Game 5.
I think you can make that argument, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're feeling good about their game, and they have every right to. But they want to win this one to give themselves a chance heading back in Game 6. If they lose Game 5, then all of a sudden the Mammoths are going to be able to use that home ice advantage at the Delta Center to try and clinch. So,
right, I think they would need a mulligan.
What's that?
They would need a mulligan. They would need that back pocket. Coming back here down 3-2, no. Coming here up 3-2, that's a whole nother story, because then you got a mulligan to play with. You want to close it out, but you still have got a mulligan in your back pocket if you need it. But being down 3-2 at that point, we're looking for momentum shifts. That would be the biggest of the series if the Mammoth find a way to be coming home up 3-2.
That's like me at Old Mill, a mulligan in my back pocket. I like to play a breakfast ball and a mulligan every 9. That's how I like to play. I offer the same to my partner, my playing partners. But that's my style.
When you see DJ, ask him, because he and I played that on Friday afternoon. We played 18, and the boy must have got tired. He struggled on the back 9, and he's relatively new to golf, and he's made great strides for sure.
So you're saying I have to play with DJ before I can play with PK? Like DJ's the minor leagues. I have to work my way up before I get to the show.
Well, I've been playing since I'm 15 years old. He really hasn't. I mean, it's just that. So that makes a big difference. We played from the Whites. I have a friend, and he wanted to play from the Whites, and so I was. I think I was 5 over.
Wow, that's a heck of a round. I thought about bringing the clubs to Vegas, but it's a work trip, so we'll be dialed in. Game 5, a lot to mull over while we avoid the clappers on the strip.
Well, I hope that we're talking to you next Tuesday about the second round series. We'll see how it goes. If not, we'll put a cap on the season. But I'm going to think positive for now.
Long way to go in this one. It is dead even. Best of 3 series, and it starts Wednesday, 8 o'clock Mountain, Game 5. Thanks, PK.
All right, that's Mike Folta. You can hear him on the call for every game for the Utah Mammoth. A lot of personality. We enjoy his time each week. Coming up next, we're going to get some TV perspective. Sam the Bam Farnsworth is going to join us. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
Nobody brings you better coverage of the teams you're passionate about than these guys.
Try some more.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Alex, he's on the top of his game. We were talking about Post Malone teaming up with Morgan Wallen. And Alex is not a big country fan. I don't think he's a country fan at all. He's more the fan of that, the obscene lyric raw rap music is what he likes apparently, huh? Yeah, that's what he told me. And so I had said, wow, man, but Post Malone and Morgan got a song out. That's pretty cool. And sure enough, he plays it coming back. I had some help. Yeah. Well, the Mammoth, I don't think they're going to need some help. I think they've got a chance to. Let's not shock the world because most folks who know more about it than I do are saying they expected this series to go long, and now it's going to go long. It has to go long. At 2-2, I consider any series that goes 6 games long. Obviously, 7 is the max, but having this opportunity here to have another home game, Game 7. If you're a Mammoth fan, do you take a Game 7 right now? I do. I do, absolutely, man. Because then I think everything is even pressure-wise. You can spin it, I should say, either way. Which one you think. Now, obviously, they've got to get one. And if they can find a way to win Wednesday, tomorrow, and then come back here on a Friday night in Salt Lake City, wow. That's about the best thing that you can hope for as far as that goes, is it not? Yes, it is. I believe that would be the case. Find a way to win. If you could win and then you bring a series clincher on a Friday night, that would be excellente for sure. We get Jake and Ben out on the plaza doing their show starting at 2 o'clock. Weather's supposed to be better. Looks like we've cleared the storms for a little bit now, and away we go. And if you don't, okay, then you have desperation mode and have Game 6 at home with the opportunity to extend it to Game 7. I'd take that. I'd take that right now. Yeah, push it to 7. See what happens. We talk about in basketball or in baseball that, the anything can happen type of thing in a Game 7. Well, if you're going to look for a sport in which anything can happen, why not put hockey at the top of the list? I think you can put it at the top of the list in terms of anything happens. I don't think there's any question about that. So, yeah, I don't think the loss last night hurt emotionally, but I don't think it was devastating to the opportunity to win the series. And I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm talking to Mammoth fans here. I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter to me that much, although professionally, job-wise, I want to see the series continue. Why not have a second-round series to go at that point and have momentum at that from building off the first one? So, yeah, absolutely. I don't get caught up in pro sports and winning and losing personally, but from a job standpoint, absolutely. Although I have to admit, I don't know if you stayed up, Alex, because you got to get up even earlier than I do. That I was like, okay, I don't want a second overtime. I want, as it was winding down, I'm getting more tired. It's getting later. I wasn't that disappointed to see that the thing finally ended. And I went right to the literal end of the overtime, right? And so with that in mind, yeah, I was okay because I don't think it's devastating. 2-2, man. And they've shown that they can win in Vegas. And, yeah, if you look at the statistics, Mike Folta had just joined us. He was saying that statistically, well, okay, Vegas is outplaying them. All right, great. But in the end, it's 2-2. And I do think that was, for losing, that was as good of a comeback as you can have for not winning a game. Because you're thinking that, and Mike was talking about he's going to have to break out the joke book because at 3-0, you're thinking, oh, man, this is going to be a blowout, and Vegas is going to assert themselves. And then, as we as fans, what we do, we extrapolate. It's not only going to be a blowout in Game 4, they're going to win the freaking series, right? Because they're going to have an easy time. They're going to have all the mojo, all the confidence. They're going to go home and thinking that, all right, man, we're going to win 3 in a row to close this puppy out. Well, it didn't happen that way. That comeback, and then the goals in the less than a minute apart, wow. In terms of excitement and building a fan base, yeah, this is a grade for the Mammoth here, grading out as A++. I think it is. You are building a fan base, and you're building people that want to be a part of it. They're building memories already. Yeah. And somebody who is caught up in hockey, I mean, he's thinking, hey, you people, you're talking about NHL playoffs. I can talk about gold medal playoffs in Italy. Yeah, all right, you little Salt Lake people, good for you. I can take it a step higher, and his name is Sam Farnsworth. Sam, how does this compare to what you experienced just a few weeks back in Italy for the world stage in the Olympic hockey?
Oh, man, that's like how do I even try to compare that, PK? You know, that's that was such a unique and just remarkable experience to be able to witness that in Italy, witness the United States win a gold medal, something they hadn't done since 1980. You know, but from a crowd standpoint, it's the Delta Center's been so fun, right? Because everyone's on board with the same team pretty much. Whereas at the Olympics, it was a split crowd. In fact, there's more Canadian fans than American fans. But, you know, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to compare, but shoot, the Stanley Cup playoffs, there's nothing quite like that.
Game 4, in terms of building a fan base, now obviously winning is something else, but just in terms of the level of excitement, how much do you think this series is doing and already has done for just the momentum that the Mammoth can carry as an organization, as they say in Canada, for something that can really lead to big things down the road?
I think it's huge. It's definitely huge because what we've already seen from this Mammoth organization, and let me make sure I get that right, what we've already seen from them, you know, since arriving here, is that they've established themselves as a destination in the NHL for players. Right? This is a team and a market. You know, word has spread about how they're treated by ownership and management out here. People absolutely love it. Love what they're hearing. The facilities, of course. You know, almost everything and anything Ryan Smith or the Mammoth touch with the NHL goes viral, right? The whole Mammoth thing goes crazy. Yeah. Everyone's talking about the Utah Mammoth. Everyone on a national, you know, international level that likes the NHL, they're keeping an eye on what this Mammoth team is doing for multiple reasons, because they're kind of the hot topic right now, but also because from a player standpoint, this is a franchise on the rapid rise to doing something special here in the next few years and making a run at the Stanley Cup this year, getting into the playoff this year, winning a couple of games this year, doing what they've, you know, the atmosphere that they've established at Delta Center that it even bleeds through our TV screens. You can tell that it's a rowdy, raucous, just great environment. All of those things continue to build that momentum and roll, you know, that ship forward for what could potentially be very special in years to come. And so this is huge in that direction, taking a step in that direction into building something really special that could become a Stanley Cup championship team in the next few years.
Yeah, and I actually think that it could bleed over to the Jazz too, because of the same ownership. In terms of the word. And I've always felt this way. Me and Dennis Lindsay used to joke about it, that we were on the same page, and together we were going to kill this stupid storyline and narrative that this isn't a good place for people, when in fact it is. I mean, you just look at A.J. DeBonsa and the time that he had at BYU. So the young African-American basketball player can not only survive here, that he literally can thrive here and to see it when in hockey, well, maybe there's a few people who aren't into the Jazz that are into hockey, but the point being the community will embrace you as well as you want to be embraced. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And from a Jazz standpoint, excuse me, you have been seeing, as much as it's been tough to watch and endure the 4 years of rebuild and tanking and all of that, you still hear very well-respected players like a Kevin Love talking about how great this organization is, how great Ryan Smith is as an owner, and how at the stage of the career he's at, where he doesn't really have much left to go for, much left to get out of the game, except for maybe some extra paychecks and things. But everything that he's established and done in his career, the respect that he's gained, and yet he's out here praising Utah, the Jazz franchise, praising Ryan Smith as an owner, and it really is showing. I agree with you. Ryan Smith is flipping the narrative around what it means to come and play in Utah for professional sports, but also for the Utah Jazz, and I think that's a great thing. And I can't wait for next year, because it really means we get to experience Jazz basketball, meaningful Jazz basketball again, and it's been a few years since we've done that. I heard a bit of the show earlier this morning when you were talking to Jake Scott about the atmosphere and how, there's been some people out there who say, oh, there's nothing that's compared to what we're seeing with this Mammoth atmosphere. Well, those are the people that just have forgotten what it's like to experience a Utah Jazz playoff basketball game, because that is still I don't know how to describe the atmosphere of a Jazz playoff game, but it is legitimately, one of the best in the NBA and in pro sports. And so, the narrative is changing for all of sports in Utah. It is changing, that this is becoming a legitimate and real sports market, a place that can compete for championships and compete for top talent with the money the ownership's willing to spend. And I just can't wait to see where it goes from here, especially with the Jazz.
Sam Farnsworth, Channel 5 sportscaster, joining us. What does Channel 5 and KSL have planned for the rest of the playoffs?
Well, I'm going to be driving down early tomorrow morning to Vegas, so we'll be down there for Game 5. But we were hoping it would be a closeout game, but still a very pivotal Game 5 where they can swipe that home ice advantage back and bring it home for Game 6 on Friday. So, yeah, but we'll be down there live for our coverage for Game 5 tomorrow in Vegas. And then, of course, Game 6, we know that will happen back in Salt Lake City, so we will get at least one more Stanley Cup playoff game here in Utah. And, of course, we'll go wall-to-wall with our coverage of that as well.
So you'll drive down, cover Game 5, and then come back and cover Game 6?
That's right, yeah. I'll drive down Wednesday morning, drive back Thursday morning, and be back in the studio Thursday evening. So there we go.
Well, it's a busy time. And the good thing about it, I think, speaking from someone who's been in this business and knows the level that you're talking about, you'd rather have that than, oh, my gosh, what the heck are we going to do today?
Oh, 100%. Like I was talking to a friend of mine just yesterday. They were kind of asking about my schedule and when, some availabilities to get together. And I'm like, well, the last few years, April's actually been a really quiet time of the year and a great time for me to schedule some vacation or things like that. But, I would rather have the problem of a playoff team, the excitement of that, than trying to figure out, okay, what are we throwing in the show today?
Yeah, so they win Game 5, and then they come back with an opportunity to clinch Friday night in Salt Lake City. Could you imagine how many Coke Zeros would be sold at the Delta Center?
And I've been told that those Tusk mugs that are for beer sales, I've been told that they will put Coke Zero in it if you ask them. So there you go. It'll be a raucous place. All the Coke Zero all over the place.
All right, Sam, thanks for your time. We enjoy your coverage. We'll follow it on Channel 5, and hopefully we'll be coming back. We know we're coming back for Game 6, but, man, that would be something if it was a clinching game on a Friday night in Salt Lake City. That would be like the best case scenario, obviously.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Appreciate it, PK.
All right, talk to you later. Thank you.
Okay.
That's Sam Farnsworth. You can see his stuff on KSL Channel 5, along with JJ Jeremiah Jensen. They're doing a fine job covering the Mammoth. Coming up next, we'll continue, man. Is this something that you finally are into? What do you think, man? Can you imagine the possibilities? And top of the hour, my old buddy Gordon Monson, who is a long-time hockey fan. I don't know that people realize this, but he knows about hockey and has known about following hockey way back when. We'll talk to him about that. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single? Do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series. Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
Utah's best coverage of the Utes, Cougars, Jazz, and Mammoth. Here we go. From the guys who have been there for all the biggest moments in Utah sports history. You're listening to DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, Alex, what song is this?
This is New Kid in Town by the Eagles.
New Kid in Town. You want a little story behind this tune? Everybody's watching you. Great expectations? Yes. After he got the job, they all seem to, people that you meet, they all seem to know you. Yeah. I sent that to Whittingham. He's a big Eagles fan, as I am. I texted him, okay, buddy, here it is, man. The people you meet, they all seem to know you. Great expectations. Everybody's watching you.
Quite literally, the new kid in town.
Yes, and he is the new kid in town. 66-year-old Kyle Whittingham, the new kid in Ann Arbor. What a funky time it has been in our sports community. Just going back to the day that they put out the press release that he was resigning. It was like December 12th, I want to say. Just from December 12th, from then until now, look at all the stuff that we've had going on. You got that. That was just shocking news, right? The way it played out. As Utah made him an offer he couldn't accept. And so he turns it down, and then boom, he's on his way to Michigan, Ann Arbor, one of the premier football playing institutions in the country for sure. And then after that, what's the next big thing? The Jazz acquiring Jaren Jackson Jr., which signals we are done with the rebuild. We'll have Austin Ainge coming on here in the next few days or so. I've been talking with him, and he wants to come on. We're going to do that. And that is just great move right there. That it's over. They're going to play to win. There's stuff I've been seeing out of Charlotte. They're acting like they're going to acquire Lowry Markkanen. I don't know if you've seen that, but what in the world could Charlotte possibly give the Jazz to acquire Lowry Markkanen, acquire an all-star caliber player? You're going to give us Con Knippel and Brandon Miller maybe? I'm not sure I want LaMelo Ball. Don't really need him with the guards that they have. Would they do that? I don't see that. But that was huge. BYU basketball didn't turn out what they wanted. Go down in the first round. DeBonsa, his love affair with BYU continues. We'll see if he goes first in the draft as he's declared for the draft, along with BYU's Kennard Davis. I think that was maybe an exploratory situation there. I don't think he would be an NBA player. And now we've got the Mammoth hockey, and what a puck game that was. Why do you smile every time I say puck game?
Because it's fun. I've never referred to it as a puck game.
Well, if it's a ball game, they're not playing with a ball.
That is true. That is a phenomenal point.
They're playing with a puck. That makes it a pucky game. Yeah, pucks up. Yeah, unbelievable game. Just when you think about that, that was just incredible. That was a phenomenal game. I mean, obviously they came out on the short end of the stick. Literally, the short end of the stick. Is that where the short end of the stick? Is that the cliche where it came from hockey? Yeah, well, we'll see about that as they go down to Vegas. Boy, I think we're all going to be watching. I think the television ratings tomorrow night along the Wasatch Front are going to be incredible if you can track that. All right, I got to tell you about Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. The KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Beehive Meals of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest. KSLSports.com/contest. You got that? Yeah. Beehive Meals of the Week. All right, my man, the guy who's been following hockey for a long time, longer than you might think and realize, Gordon Monson joining us next right here on the KSL Sports Zone.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
Over 2 decades of sports radio dominance in Utah. My favorite. This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Okay, man, I am about to take a journey into the danger zone right now, bringing on my old buddy Gordon Monson, Salt Lake Tribune. Gordon, you realize it's been almost 20 years since I wrote lousy stories for the Tribune?
Yes, lousy but memorable.
Wow, I'm going to put that on my tombstone.
Oh, man, yeah, time is a funny thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Lousy but memorable. That sums up me, man.
Well, when we were coming in from the break, I heard a little voice man say over 20 years of dominance, DJ and PK, and I had to think, oh man, whose great idea was that? I don't know. I can't remember. Oh yeah, maybe I do remember.
Well,
yeah,
I think you played as much of a part as anybody. Certainly in continuing it after the 5th year, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's memorable. I'll just leave memorable. I'll take the lousy off.
We had a few weeks back, probably about 2 months or so now, we had to go out on a call, Peach Windows and Doors. They have a great product, right? And so we're there with the sales lady from Bonneville here at KSL. And the guy, it's a couple that owns it. And the guy, he's a sports fan, likes golf, so we're talking about it. He says, because they were making a switch from another show coming on our show and do reads and all that stuff. And he says, I talked to a lot of people about having you be a part of this, and they all told me the same thing. I said, yeah, what was that? And he said, well, they all told me you're obnoxious, but you tell the truth.
And how do you feel about that? Do you have the scars to prove it?
I thought, well, I think the obnoxious thing is overrated. But I mean, I try to tell the truth as I see it. I don't know if it's the exact truth, but it's...
Wait. Let me get this straight. In your opinion, your obnoxious factor is overrated. Okay.
It is, yes. I do think I do for this market maybe, but I mean, put me in back east, and am I really that obnoxious? I kind of just fit in along the way everybody else is. Everybody else is sarcastic and a smart A, just like I am. You knew that. That's where you grew up too. You grew up down the coast a little bit, but not too far, ironically, from where I grew up, which leads me to where I'm going. So many people in this community are finding out firsthand the excitement of playoff hockey, playoff overtime hockey. But for you, this is old hat because you go way back in the Philly area to the Broad Street Bullies when you were following the Flyers, right?
Yeah, that's right. And the funny thing about that is Philadelphia at that time that I became a hockey fan was their teams sucked, and suddenly the Flyers are emerging, and the community really rallied around that. PK, I don't know if you remember that or whether you were sucked into that whole Rangers Islanders thing, but the Flyers became a hot young team. And the community really rallied around that, and it became a big deal. And it became a big deal because, I mean, kids started playing hockey. I played street hockey, floor hockey, ice hockey. I did the whole thing, and it was really fun. It had this effect on the community as a whole. And I kind of get a similar vibe with what's going on with the Mammoth. That this community, I don't know. Do you get any sense whether it's really caught on or not? I was in the building, the Delta Center, last night, and the place is energized big time. But do you think your listeners as a whole have caught that fever yet, or not?
I think they're about to come down with it now. What I mean by that is I don't care what sport, what town, what community. Everybody loves a winner. Right? And there's very few places that where a particular sport, no matter what the sport is, where they're winning at a high level, that the stadium isn't packed and that writers are writing about it, talk show hosts are talking about it, TV's splashing it, the community, the neighbors, and, the proverbial over the mailbox thing. Where the community's not excited about it, I think across the board, that tends to happen. Here, it's a long, passionate fan base that follow the Jazz. And Jazz, we think they'll be on the road to winning starting next season. But right now, it's sort of a wait and see. I do think you have the hardcore hockey people who were going to be in it because they're into the sport, like you were when you were a kid. And I can remember my sister is living at that point across just down the street, basically, into the New Jersey side. They call it South Jersey, and that is basically a suburb of Philadelphia. And she's several years older than me. She'd already been through college, and she's teaching in the South Jersey area. And she would tell me about the Flyers and how the community is going berserk. And that's all they're talking about in the schools, among the administrators, the teachers, the students. I think she was teaching junior high at the time. And you're right that everybody was behind them, and they'd had a history here. We don't have the history, but I think as far as being able to sell the sport to the community, I don't know that it could go better than the way it's going right now, particularly using Game 4 as the linchpin to this is what playoff hockey is about. If you didn't get excited about that game, then you simply don't like the sport, and the sport turns you off for whatever reason. But even the casual, and you were in the building, you can speak to this, has to think, wow, this, from a competitive standpoint, this sport is incredible.
I really agree with that. Playoff hockey, maybe you could do a show on this, but playoff hockey might be the best postseason sport that I've ever seen. I mean, yeah, you can argue about the NCAA basketball tournament and all that, but man, these games are usually tight. They're exciting. They're tough to for if you're a fan. Man, you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. And that happened last night. I mean, when they fall behind 3-0 and then they claw back and take the lead, I mean, I was thinking that as I was sort of absorbing the whole thing. People were really into it. And they love that back and forth, although the home team and the fans obviously want to win and win big. But, man, that game last night was if you have any kind of pulse at all, you were probably pretty switched on by it. And, yeah, in the building, that's the way it is. I just wonder about the community as a whole, whether people have really glommed onto it yet.
I think they will.
If you haven't, and again, the Flyers were the same way because they started out at a certain level and then they sort of scratched and clawed their way toward the top. And, you know, they didn't win the Stanley Cup right out of the gate.
Right.
It took them a few years. But once they were there, man, those were good times.
Right. And then it becomes entrenched, and then you got a fan base that you can build off of, and it just grows from there. That's what I'm saying. We're not there yet, but I think there's a strong possibility to get there. And you look at that game, and then there's very few sports where, okay, you're thinking, oh my gosh, Vegas has asserted itself. Now they're going to win this game, and they're probably going to win 3 in a row. We do that as sports fans. Sports fans, people accuse me of being negative, and I'm not a half-empty guy. I'm a 2/3 empty guy. I'll fully admit that. If something can go wrong, I'll find it. But I think...
But you're not obnoxious, man. Let's get that straight. Hey, I think you ought to have people vote on what should be on PK's tombstone. Although that is a little... I'm macabre, I get it.
What did you decide that I was? Lousy but memorable. Yeah. Hopefully I can remember that.
People, maybe you could have obnoxious on there too and have that scratched out, you know.
For a while. And so you're thinking, sports fans tend to think negatively, right? Because you're so emotionally invested. It's like, oh my gosh, our team, we're not going to get it done. And when it's 3-0, you're thinking they're going to smoke the Mammoth. And name me a sport where everything can change in literally under 1 minute. 1 minute, right? They score 3-1. Okay. Well, when it's 3-2, a half a minute later, then it's on. It changed so dramatically to where you're thinking, we're going to get smoked. Oh, 3-1. Hey, maybe there's enough time left. Well, boom. Less than a freaking minute later, it's 3-2, and you're thinking, we got ourselves a game, right? I mean, I'm sure that's what people were thinking inside the arena.
Yeah, they were, and those fans were right there. I mean, people were disappointed, but once you get that one goal, it's just like this mighty momentum going forward. And the coolest thing, one of the cool things for Mammoth fans here and for Utah sports fans is that this is a young team.
Right.
And they've got young stars on this team that could be around for a long time. And people can latch on to that. When the Jazz first came here, PK, they sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say it the way it is. They were not a good team. And then all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, but you draft a couple of guys who seemed to make a difference.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, people were driving down the streets with flags hanging out their windows like the Jazz were some kind of breakaway republic or so. I mean, people really got into it, naming their kids after Jazz players and whatnot. I don't know if that will happen with hockey, but certainly it's capable of bringing a community together and unifying it in a rooting interest. And, in this day and age, who needs that? Well, everybody.
Yeah, when you think about it, what the Jazz did there, I mean, they had 3 great drafts. They draft Thurl, then they draft the statues, and then they're gone. They're off and running. The days of losing are behind them, right? We saw it with Oklahoma City Thunder. They make the big trade, but then they draft well. And hopefully for the Jazz's sake, they can get it would be awesome if they got the number 1 pick. And they be back to their winning ways next year. It's just a lot more fun in the community when the team wins. I mean, I may not care personally, but job-wise, I want to see these teams win. As far as going
it's
into...
the best, PK, really, it's the best thing pro sports can do for a community is bring it together like that. And I agree with you. I think the Jazz are on the edge of doing some really good things. And, we all know that the fans have been suffering for the past 4 years or so. It's about time.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. The Jazz fans have stayed fairly connected, sort of, waiting. And, man, I'll tell you, if they get one of these star players in this draft and they pick the right one, Lady Luck is on their side a little bit, man, I'll tell you, I think they are in position to do some really, really positive things. Not 5 years from now, starting next year.
Oh, I agree.
And it might be a ladder to climb from there, but man, they will be in the hunt.
Yeah, and you got to get in the hunt to get to the top of it. I mean, you don't go from not being in it to getting to. You got to take those steps, and they're set up to take that. I think a significant improvement next year.
Let me ask you this: if let's say the Jazz luck out and get the number 1 pick, who do you take?
Oh, I go DeBonsa all the way. I'm biased. I saw him play many times in person. I covered BYU basketball more than I have since I was left the beat in 2007. I was at their first game in Vegas against Villanova, and I was at their last game against Texas in Portland, and went to several games in between, and obviously watch them on the television constantly. And the kid's not a perfect player. I'm not saying he's going to have the impact of LeBron, but few do. But I think he's got the work ethic to do the things that he needs to do. I mean, in three-point shooting, that's a little bit of a weakness. But man, the pressure that it was on him, the constant double teams, and against Texas, they would pick him up 2 feet past half court, double teams, right? And he still manages to score. I mean, his athletic ability is off the charts, and he seems like he's a kid who really wants to work hard, which is what you need to do, right? And it looks like that's something that he's going to do. To me, I like Boozer's game. It's more below the rim, but you're looking for upside, right? I think Boozer can come in and play right away. He's got an NBA body. He can help you. But I think 3, 4, 5 years down the road, have him grow with an Ace Bailey. Yeah, that would be something. Another guy who's long and extremely agile, like they're accumulating. You don't want to go crazy, but it seems like that would be best case scenario on the defensive end. And you hear Will Hardy talk about the defensive end and have him dig in as a rookie and just say, all right, son, I just need you to focus on defense here this year. And if he does that and come in spurts, he can be whatever Cody Williams has the opportunity to be defensively, which I think is pretty good. And we see it with a lot of deflections that he gets. I think DeBonsa could be even better than that. So, plus, we're in the stories, Gordon. We've been in the stories for 40 years apiece, and that's the best story locally, and I want to see the best story locally.
He'll be far be it from us to make predictions, PK, but DeBonsa, I think, will be a better pro than he was a college player. And one of the things that will make him better is when he does get double teamed, he will find a shooter who can actually make a shot.
Yeah.
And that was really working to his disadvantage at BYU. Yeah, God bless them, but they just didn't have enough shooters.
No.
And so people say, well, a lot of ISO ball, you're going. Well, he didn't have much of a choice,
No, he did not.
Yeah, he had to do that. He'll be a better. I don't know what he averaged this last year, 25 points a game.
25.
I think that at some point in his career, I don't know when, he'll average more than that in the NBA.
More than that. Nice. Mm-hmm. I like that prediction. I told you I was getting in the danger zone with Gordon Monson. That's at some point in his career, and you're not pushing early. You're willing to give it time, and he's 19 years old, so he's got time. He will average more than 25 points a game. That is something that I will be watching as my teeth begin to fall out here over the next several years.
Not only will he average more than 25, he'll do so easily.
Easily? Oh, he upped the game. He upped the ante. Oh, man.
And on top of that, if the Jazz end up with him, they'll be in real contention for an NBA title. Not right away, but eventually they'll be there.
What's your line on eventually? 2 to 3 to 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, I'd say within 2 to 3 years.
Oh, well, that means I better be signing a new contract. I don't want to miss out on that.
I don't know, PK. You and I could be floating on a raft somewhere, observing it all from a distance. I don't know.
Well, if so be it. But the key being observing. And if the Jazz are in the finals in 2032, whether I'm drooling on myself or what, or whether I'm still sitting here, I'm going to be watching because my life, whenever I stop this, probably not going to change a whole lot. My wife said, what are you going to do? I'm going to do the same thing I always do. Sit around and moan during the day and watch sports at night.
I don't know, PK. I don't think you'll be drooling. I think you'll be lowering that handicap. That's what you'll be doing.
All right, I'll do that. I mean, I'll be moaning about the putt that I missed. And then I told her, I said, I already got my hobbies. They start at 5 o'clock Mountain Time when I go downstairs and I reemerge around 10 o'clock. I'm about as one-dimensional as they come. I don't read books. I don't go to the theater. I rarely go to movies, although we did go the other day to see the Michael Jackson movie. I told her, I said, you underestimate me. When the time comes, I'm going to really get into my woodworking. And she just, right.
When was the last time you whittled anything?
Well, I consider when I cut my toenails whittling them, but that's another story.
I know the older you get, the harder that is.
Yeah, exactly, man. You got to be limber. You got to be able to reach all the way over. I can't get there anymore.
Oh, your younger audience need to appreciate what you can do when you're young.
Yeah.
Because when you get older, man, just bending over to get that toenail, that's a whole new
right. Putting
adventure.
a tee in the ground, if I get to stand up without being dizzy, I consider it success.
Well, okay, I'll tell this little story. It shows you how bad it is for me. PK and I are playing golf, and he sees the way I struggle. And, of course, my ball always ends up in the hole, of course, eventually. But he saw me, struggling to get down there to get the ball out of the hole. And so what does he do? He gives me one of those ball retriever things that you stick on the end of your putter so you don't have to reach down there and get it with your hand. You just stick the thing on there and the ball sticks to your
right, you just stab at it like a Chi-Chi Rodriguez.
So I don't have to bend over, get all the way back up.
You want to save the energy. This is a smart move. You're allocating your resources more effectively.
Well, I appreciate the kind gift. That was my enjoyability of the game a little bit.
So you got the prediction on DeBonsa, and that'll be fun. I don't think that's outrageous. It's a 3-game series now with Vegas. What's your prediction? What do you expect?
Man, I don't know. I've been watching every game in this series. The thing I love about what the Mammoth do is, man, they have those rushes down the ice,
right? And
they have those highly skilled goal scorers,
right?
But one thing that Vegas does is they control the puck.
Yep, exactly.
And it seems like there are times when that's really to your advantage.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this is going to go for the Mammoth. And again, last night, if the Mammoth win that game last night, then I think they win the series. Yeah. But that's overtime, and that's the beauty of sports right there, is just being able to wonder what might have been last night. But I mean, I wouldn't bet on this at this series. The Mammoth that will have their chances. We'll see how they do down in Vegas.
I think that's about the best you can come up with, but you're just trying to say that they're going to win or going to lose. We just don't know, which is why we want to watch it. But they have an opportunity because of their skill level and their speed to win 2 more games in this series. Will they? If I had to bet, I'd probably bet no. But that's the fun part, is to see what happens. And I mean, I thought they were left for dead last night. And the next thing you know, they're not only tying the game, they got the lead. And, at that point, anything can happen, and we'll see. And the good thing is that, I think they're learning from this experience. So I think actually the overtime helped them. Even if they don't win the series this year, I think it's going to help them for down the line to be able to experience that.
I agree. And going up against Vegas, the contrast in styles is really interesting to watch because, as we said, Vegas tries to control the puck more, and the Mammoth have these rushes down the ice, and people like Dylan Gunther I wrote about today, and Logan Cooley and others, young players, young exciting players. Those guys are twins. PK.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, those they're kids.
You got underwear older than them.
Professional. And not only is it, this is another thing that I think Utahns would connect with this team. You talk to these kids, and they're pro athletes. They know they're great athletes. I mean, I'm not going to downplay that at all. But they seem to be somewhat humble and grateful for what they're able to accomplish and what they're able to do. And I remember when I was in L.A., just speaking of old times, PK, when we both were down there working, I remember talking to various writers about which professional athletes seemed to be the most humble, the most grateful. Hockey. And I think hockey was a landslide winner. And I think, I tell you the truth, I think baseball ended a blast in that poll. But anyway.
I covered a lot of Kings games writing sidebars. And so, yeah, they're always – the two things I learned is that the Canadian and American guys who, English was their first language, they were extremely easy to deal with, and they were all great golfers.
That hand-eye coordination does come into play.
And the way the seasons allows them to be able to really focus on golf during the golf season, yeah. And when they go home to their usually Canadian or upper Midwest, Northeast homes, and they play a ton of golf.
Did the man you played around a golf with one time, a Canadian, a fellow who happened to win the Masters one year, was he? I think he played hockey too, didn't he?
Did. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Weir.
We had him on a couple weeks back. He was getting ready to compete in the senior tournament, and he was going to actually He called that day, and we had him on. He was going to play later that afternoon. And I looked it up. One of his partners was Vijay Singh, and we were talking about how Rory doesn't want to talk much. Last year he didn't talk to DeChambeau. This year he didn't talk to Cameron Young, and that's just not who he is. And Mike says, yeah, well, it's a senior tour now. We're a little older, so I'll be talking to VJ, although I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about because he can't talk hockey.
So Rory doesn't like to talk in the middle of a round. It's kind of like you.
I'm not too chill, but I'm just unfriendly. But Rory's more in a concentrating mode.
Tell your audience the story when you played around with Mike Weir. I love that. So PK's teeing up with a former Masters champion. I don't know. Are Masters champions? Are they ever former? Maybe they're always a Masters champion. I don't know. But tell them. A little nervous there at start.
Oh, yeah. I got there early, and he was already on the driving range. I thought he's going to watch me. So I take out my 7-iron. I figure, man, I can hit a few balls with my 7-iron and not throw up, right? And I know he's watching me because I'm in the slot right next to him. And so he's my back is to him, and I know he's watching, thinking, oh, my gosh, what am I gotten myself into? But so I hit the 7. I just hit 7 irons, and even though it goes 120, you don't really know how far it goes in the range, so it looks like a golf shot. And he's thinking, oh yeah, okay. And he says, all right, yeah, you got something in the game. And then we go out on the first hole, and I triple it, and I'm dizzy, I'm nauseous. And thinking, oh my gosh, man, I tripled this hole. I've embarrassed myself, hitting shanks. And then he looks at me, just take it easy. And then I went, the other 17, I either parred or birdied, or not birdied, I wish. I either parred or bogeyed. So I settled down. But, man, it was a treat to play with him in his short game. And then one time I didn't know where we were going, and because there was a dog leg, and he gets up there first, and he goes and he hits over the dog leg. I wasn't sure, so I line up to where he just went, and he looks at me. He says, what are you doing? And I says, that's where I'm going, right? And he says, oh, no. I go that way. You go this way. Meaning you don't try to hit over through the dog leg. You just hit it straight and then worry about the second shot. You're not going to be able to hit it like I did. And he told me, no, I go that way. You go this way. And I said, yes, sir. And he gave me a couple tips along the way. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun.
It seems like I remember you saying, PK, check me if I'm wrong on this, but I thought he gave you 2 tips that I remember. Was one for you to freaking relax, and the second was to commit to the shot.
Oh, commit to the shot. He probably said that 15 times during the round. Yes, commit to the swing. He kept saying it because I would be tentative and start to play mind games with myself. And I think if he would have known me a little bit better, he would have started yelling at me to do it. And he was right. You got whatever shot you want to hit, you've got to be committed to the swing. So there we go. We're a little late to break. Well, I sure appreciate your time, and read your stuff at SL Trib and see what the Mammoth come up with.
All right, PK, you think about that, what you want on that tombstone, man. I think your listeners will help you in that regard.
All right, talk to you soon. Thanks, Gordon.
See you, man.
All right, that's Gordon Monson. All right, coming up next, get you caught up on what you missed. And, of course, it's Mammoth, and Mammoth. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do-or-die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
For all of you, less motivated listeners, it's time for your 9 o'clock. Where the heck have you been headlines?
Where you at?
With DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Slacker Radio headlines. Call Trajan Wealth today. Your local trusted financial fiduciary. 1-855-TRAJAN1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN1. Or visit their website, TrajanWealth.com. All right, the big story of the day, obviously, is the Mammoth. What a puck game. Man, pucks were flying all over the place. That was about as good a game as you can have. Now, if your mood is determined by the final score, then I guess you would be disappointed. I understand that. That's what fans are about. For me, I was entertained from start to finish. Thought the Mammoth were going to get smoked, but then they come rallying back, take the lead. And as I talked to Mike Folta earlier today, when they took the lead, he was texting his friends back in the Midwest where he's from, saying, hey, I don't think this is going to be the final score. And I felt like Vegas was going to find a way. Somehow, I just felt like this thing is going OT, and then they get the goal in about the 79th minute with just a little over a minute to go, and they knot the series at 2-2. Tomorrow, I'm pretty glad. I think it's sweet that they're right back out on the ice with just one day off. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, our time, they're down in Vegas, that we will be able to see what's going on. We'll have all the stuff at KSLSports.com. Channel 5 will have it. We will have you covered as the most comprehensive media outlet in the market for sure. And we're excited for that game to see what's going down. A lot of twists and turns, man. The emotional nature of that game was just absolutely incredible, right? Absolutely it was. It was fun. Fun, too. I suspect it'll be more of the same because all the games have been entertaining and been close. I see no reason to think otherwise. The experts predicted a long series. That's exactly what we got, a long series. All right, we got some other news. I think the big news is for the Texas Tech quarterback, Brennan Sorsby. He's going to go into, what would you call it, rehab or some type of therapy as far as gambling goes. That's serious. I've been around gamblers my whole life, man. Literally my whole life. It's still a big deal for many in my family. I kind of got burned out about it over it in my 20s. I've been exposed to it literally in single digits. I used to have, my parents both worked, and one of their friends, was like an uncle to me, even though he wasn't blood related. He'd pick me up, and we'd go into the city being New York, and he would do the off-track betting. Huge horse racing dude, and I was into horse racing big time myself. And let's just say I have family members who, when they want to go to Vegas, get a lot of stuff comped. Rooms, meals, concert tickets, because they accumulate so many points from gambling, and that can get in your blood and can be very dangerous. Now, hopefully the best for that young man. How it affects the team, well, it looks like that he's going to have a hard time receiving eligibility here for this season, and this is it for him. He's a fifth-year senior. Said he bet on games when he's redshirting in Indiana to win, and then a lot of bets, live bets with the Cincinnati Reds. Obviously, he played for the Bearcats, and that would have been in the same community, and you can do all that stuff. That's the downside with all the accessibility to gambling here that is available now around the country, if not the world. And what does that mean for the team? Well, I think it opens up. You can go to KSL.com. I wrote about it. It opens up for opportunities. I think that with Sorsby in there, they would have been the heavy favorite to repeat. Now we'll see. Hammond looked good when he got his opportunity in the second half against Utah last year, but he's coming off an ACL, won't be there available at the start of the season. What does that mean for them? How will that play out? I think it makes the race more wide open, which is good news for BYU and Utah, because I think that both of those teams have an opportunity to be in contention. And we saw 2 years ago the surprise team was ASU. They picked them 16th, and so they end up finishing first. And so then we can't have the poll anymore. Take away our fun, why don't you? That's what they did. So they didn't have the poll. Houston was a surprise team last year. We'll see what happens. It'll probably be. And I think Arizona was too. Are they good enough? Are both those teams good enough to contend? Well, we shall see over the course of the 9 games. When we get to that point, it'll be a lot of fun. But for BYU and Utah, man, how about this? How about BYU versus Utah in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium on the first Friday in December? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
I think everybody would.
Absolutely in this community. If you gave me that option, oh, for sure I would take that. That would be Mammoth to play off the word of the day and the team of the day with the Utah Mammoth. The NBA, as expected, the Thunder dispatched the Suns easily 4-0. They're going to be tough to beat. The Nuggets, they've got injuries, Aaron Gordon, but the Timberwolves got more injuries with DiVincenzo and obviously Anthony Edwards. That sucks for them. Man, these injuries that have been happening in these playoffs, they bite. We go through the whole season. We want to see these dudes play, see these teams be at full strength. Whatever happens, happens from that standpoint. Big surprise is that Detroit won 60 games in the regular season. They're down 3-1 to the 7th seed Orlando. You kidding me? Orlando, 45 games. It's the same, actually not the 7, the 8th seed. The same record as the Suns. Suns get dispatched. And the East, we're counting on the Pistons. All that leads to me to believe is that it's who are the Celtics going to play in the finals. Anybody else think anybody different? Maybe the Knicks, the Cavs? We shall see. Knicks and Hawks are tied 2-2. They'll play tonight. The other series, Celtics and Boston, or Celtics and Philadelphia, and the Blazers and Spurs. You got the Celtics leading 3-1 and the Spurs leading 3-1. I suspect they'll close it out. Both those teams will close out those series as far as that goes. Early entrance in the NBA. Kennard Davis put his name in. Maybe that's just to try out to get a feel. A.J. DeMonsa, of course, is going to go very high, if not number 1. Number 1 to the Jazz. Got to believe it, got to think it to believe it, and believe it to think it, whatever those things are. We'll see what happens there. And baseball, the Dodgers won. The big news is Mason Miller gave up a run, man. He'd been unhittable so far. Cubs scored a couple of runs. I don't know if you saw it. It was a little swinging bunt that rolled down the third base line. And Machado waiting. And I think it was also Mason Miller. The pitcher was over there. And it looked like it was on the left side of the line, but they called it fair. Didn't really make sense to me. But nevertheless, that's what they did. Utah State, yeah, going to retire the number of Bobby Wagner, the standout Hall of Fame linebacker. Super Bowl winning, Pro Bowl dude, tackle leading, all that stuff. He's got all the credentials. And so we'll see what the schedule comes out and how the bye weeks work. And if he continues to play, either be this year or next year, they'll do it. And that's well-deserved. We said that earlier. I'm not a Utah State historian. Is he the second best defensive player behind Merlin Olsen? All you Utah State football historians, let us know. Is that the way it would be? Would you rank them 1, 2? I don't go back. I can't name some of the great ones as far as that goes, but certainly he is a great player there and gets his opportunity to get that number retired. And he's been a loyal alumnus to Utah State's football program. And they look like they'll have an opportunity to compete this year. We'll see what's going down. NCAA President Charlie Baker, pretty optimistic. quote, pretty optimistic that this age-based eligibility, 5 years to play 5, starting at, 19, they want to say. And I think they'll accommodate the admissions for all the Latter-day Saint folks who might be worried about that, and all the schools, but obviously BYU. You can have that exception. I think it seems like they made a bunch of exceptions for BYU, or not for BYU, but for Latter-day Saint kids, obviously BYU being prominent, and I think they will continue to do that. All right, get some feedback, get you set for Scotty G and the coach. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
No, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
And now, enough of us. It's time to hear from you. From all your texts, tweets, and posts. This is the best feedback of the day.
Ooh, I was there. That's the best game of my life.
With DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Next Gen Motors joins Scotty and the coach Friday from 11 to 2 at Next Gen Motors grand opening at their new location in Linden. That's 590 North State Street, 590 North State Street, Next Gen Motors. All right, got a little breaking news. The Philadelphia Phillies have fired their manager, Thompson, and replaced him with Don Mattingly. The Phillies are off to their worst start in over 20 years. They suck, and so now we've had 2 managers. We didn't even get out of April, and 2 managers are gonzo. Well, I guess that's the way it goes, huh? These guys are hired to be fired, as they say. It's unusual if you're not fired, man. I talked about, hey, what about the hockey, man? If you didn't enjoy that game, you don't enjoy the sport, right? Put that on Facebook. So cool to see it on TV and then realize it's our team and our city. Great game. Should have won that one. Yeah. I never felt like they were in major control. I thought they were in big-time trouble down 0-3. And then they come back, not only tie it, but take the lead. But even at that, there was too much time left. And you're dealing with a veteran club with veteran players who are really good for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And I always thought that they would find a way to tie the game. But once you get in overtime, that really is who's going to make it? Who's going to make it happen? Not necessarily flip a coin, but I didn't think that the Mammoth were long shots to win, but I never felt comfortable that they were going to win once it got into OT. I've covered OT hockey in the NHL going way back from when I lived in Los Angeles a long time ago. So I know crazy things can happen. Things can be unpredictable, and the way they race up and down. I felt like they had a good chance. Looking at their speed, thinking, okay, they can get up and down that ice. Maybe a puck comes loose or something, or who knows? It smacks off a pipe, off the back of the goaltender, which we've seen, a skate here and there. But nevertheless, that did not happen, and they lost. But it's not the end of the world, man. 2-2. Obviously, pivotal game coming up tomorrow night. Super excited for that. 8 o'clock, we will be watching that. Everybody will be talking about it the rest of the day tomorrow. And you can read about it that we have on our websites, KSLSports.com, Channel 5, all that stuff. Exciting time for the Mammoths. See what they can do. Maybe they can find a way to win 2 more games. All right, find a way to turn it over to our guys, Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe. They're up next. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.